This is LS, and you're on Thorin's YouTube channel, so cut the Western shit.
I love that you can always rely on Reddit to give the stupidest feedback possible in any given circumstances. Like when I posted that highlight, there was a guy claiming that, like, if we're going to make assertions like that, you should provide evidence. So for every single comment we ever make on a talk show, we should pause the talk show, probably pull up, I'm guessing, like at least 10 video examples each, go through them all intricately. Meanwhile, any opinion that they like, well, that just stands as a given, doesn't it? No, I've never seen them on fucking the LCS broadcast pull up all the videos and start doing that. It's weird, that, isn't it?
Those guys are free to look at any of my VOD reviews of any Fnatic game if they want any.
They wouldn't do it,
like,
you have to realise. That sort of an idiot would go out of their way not to find the information. So they would always just claim that anyway, mate. Like, you should see some of the shit people claim in CSGO, mate. It'd blow your mind.
The way that I see it now, in terms of, like, wow, Redditors say the dumbest things, is that given the standards of analysis, i.e. complete lack thereof, like you were just saying, you don't see them pull up like points on the broadcast every single time that they say something that is almost entirely narrative driven. I just think, okay, well, that guy is as much of a victim as everyone else. And then I just like don't feel angry at the guy anymore. And then I don't get frustrated by these things. That's the way
I mean, you have to realise, whenever they say something like that, like they make a demand of you they wouldn't make of anyone else, it's just cognitive dissonance. That's just their brain's way of shielding them from the idea that they could be wrong. Yeah. It's like I've told you a million times, dude. What I love about the group of people who do analysis now is what they would use to dismiss one doesn't work on the other. Like, for example, the easiest one that they go to with you and Kelsey is like, yeah, well, if you were that good, then why is H2K shit? Right? Let's take that logic. Let's accept their premise for a second. Right? They now must listen to everything Loco ever says. He's a 2-time LCS champion coach. End of story. He was top 8 of Worlds. There you go. End of story. They must literally bow to everything Loco ever says. Now, do you imagine they're going to do that? Of course they aren't. What's hilarious is Loco with both a pro and a coach, and they still claim he knows nothing. Meanwhile, I've told you the other one, when they always claim that, like, I don't know anything because I'm not good at the game. And then it's like, mate, LS would murk all of you guys. He would absolutely destroy any of these motherfuckers in solo queue. It's like they can't even be consistent with the actual, like, criteria. Because obviously they're just picking it. That's my point, basically, is they don't have a criteria already. Like, here's the thing. If there was a guy and their whole philosophy was like, you got to be good at the game, fair enough. That could be your philosophy. I could imagine some high challenge elo player thinking that, you know, some like Tarzan type guy. I could believe they would believe it. But the point is, it wouldn't make sense to just decide the criteria for each person you dislike. You may as well just say, I don't like you. You've got ginger hair. Of course, that one's got black hair. Don't like that either. Just keep going. Just make it as specific as you need. Because remember, the actual premise that they have is way wilder than any of your premises about Broxer. Their premise goes like this. For some reason, there's a mad conspiracy. And about 7 people, only about 2 or 3 are even connected, just hate Broxer so much. I don't know why. None of them seem to have a personal relationship with the guy. That they're just going out of their way to create a conspiracy that he's secretly not good.
I'm waiting for them to do what they did to Bwipo and go from saying that he's insane to saying that he is complete garbage, and then me having to defend Broxer immediately after that. Because this has happened to me once now with the whole Bwipo thing. Like, the whole thing flipped. And previously I was being told the same thing that I get told now about my opinion with Broxer. And, like, the whole fucking shit has flipped almost entirely. I'm just waiting for that to happen with Broxer as well. Because what I've noticed is that these, like, super large fan bases are very, very uniquely bipolar. It's really quite strange, to be honest.
I can tell you what they do is, right, they will maintain to the death that they're right, that this player's good. But the second that player, like, really lets them down, dude, you won't even be able to get your digs in. They'll be the ones attacking that player. Because they'll literally act like a spurned girlfriend who's, like, just mad as fuck that they've been let down by their hero, who was never as good as they thought anyway, and therefore doesn't actually deserve all the wrecking that they then give him. So it goes without saying, doesn't it? The saddest thing is, as well, here's the real reason, Veteran, you can never actually get a satisfaction. Because if you are right, and if a team is fundamentally flawed, here's the sad thing, mate. It doesn't matter how much they deny it, the second they realise, they'll instantly make a player change. You know how many times in history I have totally called that a lineup was going to fail in Counter-Strike? And even the players on the team are telling me I don't know anything and I'm wrong. And so what I always told them is the same thing. It's basically like what people nowadays say. You know that, like, that meme where people say, keep the same energy. It's like a thing from recent times. It's like that. I used to tell him, great, well, if you think this guy's brilliant, I want you to keep him for 2 years. I want you to keep this lineup you think is brilliant for 2 whole years and prove me completely wrong. You know what they never do, by the way, Veteran? As soon as they fail big time, they instantly make a player change, therefore basically admitting that you were right all along, but they never ever give you credit for it either.
I mean,
like, I've had some mad ones that I had that all the pleb fans were wrong, and there were some unreal ones, mate. Because some of them were just blatant, you know, like so obvious who was going to be right.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you mean, but it's like, what are these players supposed to do? Like, I guess that you're saying that the players shouldn't even like try to defend if, like, at some point down the line, the whole.
There's nothing I find more pathetic in a pro player that he would publicly tell me I'm wrong, and then 2 months later make exactly the move I said to make. You're just a bitch at that point in time. So you always have the option to keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, I figured that was the angle that you're going to take. Like, if
it's just bitch made. Because, dude, like, you can have it one way or the other. You're either going to defend your brother, in which case, defend him. Don't just betray him 2 months later. Or you can just leave it, and then you let the fates decide. That they can never do. They want both at the same time.
Let me put this to you. Every time Young Buck does an interview, generally speaking, I always assume he does that interview because none of his players want to, because he's giving his players time to like rest, but Riot demand an interview from you anyway. So he's probably taking the bullet in that regard. Every time that he then goes and like defends with very, very choice language, by the way, guys, you should see the language he uses when he defends Boxer. I don't think that if he like switches Boxer for Dan next split or something, that would necessarily be like hypocritical or he should have kept his mouth shut or anything. I am thinking like, what else is he supposed to do? Like, he kind of has to do that because if you do anything else, then you're going to ruin like the team cohesion inside. Once you go in there and Boxer also chatted a bunch of shit about him. I do find the language that he uses to defend Boxer kind of funny because he'll say stuff like, I mean, he's a great listener and like stuff like this. And he essentially confirms most things that people are saying. But I don't necessarily blame him for doing it because now we're kind of in a world where organizations like Riot will force you to have to say something. Like, you can't just blanket
get more skill in talking then.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and he does, but like, if he doesn't outright explicitly defend players like Boxer, then that could potentially damage team cohesion in the here and now. And I
think you've probably done a pretty bad job setting your team up if just not lying about a player ruins the whole team.
I mean, the pressure that you get if your coach says to 100,000 people that
you don't say that. There's never any point in time someone has a gun against your head and says, "Say he's a bad player." That'll never happen.
Why?
This is what's so sad, Veteran. You know what? You know one of the reasons I have so much contempt for people who come on my shows and then complain is because when you're the person answering, you have complete control. Mm-hmm. You can answer whatever the fuck you want. You can even take a question, ignore the entire question, start answering, and no one notices until halfway in that you never answered the question. You can say whatever the fuck you want. Like, if someone asks me, so what do you think of all the criticism of Broxer? I'd just make it something like, our team has a great system. He plays a great role within it. I think actually he's had to transition what he's done this year, but in some of his growth's quite impressed me, actually. You don't at any point in time have to say what you actually think. The point is, in your scenario, you're making out like he has to say, I think he's an amazing jungler, otherwise he's like, ruined the team. I don't think so. You can definitely skirt around that.
Like, he can't reveal that Box is only good within the confines of the system because, as you have stated before, like, he essentially has to perform Inception, and I very much empathize with the fact that he essentially has to perform Inception on these guys. Where I would draw the line would be if Young Buck would just not message me, but like publicly say that like, our Veteran is just chatting shit because he's like jealous or something like this. Like, if he said something like that, obviously then the line is drawn. I know what these CSGO players say to you. I've seen like once that some CSGO players, I think they were like Brazilian, were being insanely toxic at you. I can't remember what the fuck it was you said. That obviously would be like a line draw for me. But I wouldn't blame them for like defending their players as long as they're not like attacking the person saying it.
Attacking the person saying it is the default approach of almost every single pro player in every single game, by the way.
Well, it's not Young Bucks, which is why I brought him up as like an example. But I don't disagree with you there. Yeah, I've definitely seen that.
Oh, by the way, I can already tell you, Veteran, and don't worry, I've got some content I'm preparing on this topic, but I'm loving it right now because you know what? We're like the people who had money when the fucking Black Tuesday or whatever happened in America in like 1920 or whatever the fuck it was. Because you know that the principle that plebs don't know is if you have loads of money, you love it when the market crashes. You just go around buying up all the good stocks, and you know inevitably some of them are going back up again, right? This is what you now have the chance to do with Leader. Because you know everyone on Reddit thinks he's shit now. Everyone. Yeah. And by the way, I'll even say a solid 20% of that is just because anyone who's had any experience with Reddit knows this. There's nothing American fans hate more than a European player who doesn't win yet, but they know is highly touted. Because here's the thing, on one level, they're almost intelligent. It's the only chance they're going to get any digs in on these players. So you better do it now. You better talk shit twice as hard. But it's not going to matter in the end because, like I say, you can buy the stock at rock bottom prices now.
I mean, I absolutely stick to my guns on Leader, and I absolutely stick to the time frame on Leader, and we will be calling him a tier 1 next year, 100%.
Well, that's also why it's the perfect time to buy in, mate, because he's barely played any games. They act like he's just played 2 whole splits and done this every single game. No. And in fact, I'd even argue, counterintuitive as this might sound, the fact that he's had so many games where his scoreline looked shit is actually why, when he hits his stride, he will dominate the league.
Yeah.
It's like that story I told you, the one where Kobe Bryant had that story where he was watching some players play when he was injured, and the player he was watching, who was the star player, went 0-9, and he said to the guy with him, see, that'd never happen to me, because if I go 0-9, I'm going to go 0-30. That mentality is what Leader has. You know how few fucking players have ever had that in LEC? We were just rookies.
I want to run this by you, because I briefly talked about this on stream, but like, I have an idea about rookie players that most rookie players climb the ladder the first time that they climb the ladder because they figured out like one thing that worked really fucking well for them, and then they climb the ladder off of that, right? And then they join EUM, and if their style actually does work out, then they'll like do really well in EUM. And then they'll probably get picked up by a pro team. But at no point then have they had to develop, right? They are just all stuck within this like zone of comfort that they develop because it's what worked for them up until now. And then when they get to LEC, eventually other smart teams figure them out, and that has happened with Misfits Premiere after the first 2 weeks. Like everyone knows they play 1v1, and everyone is picking shit that is good into 1v1 against them. At that point, they get removed from their comfort zone, and now they have to develop. They're still going to need like some sort of comfort to fall back to, right? Normally, that's going to be the environment, the team environment, the organizational environment, etc. How the fuck would you ever expect any single rookie in Misfits Premiere to develop properly if you're perpetually changing the environment around them? Because then you get no comfort outside the game. They're always going to have to choose the comfort zone in the game as a result, so they'll never actually try to develop. Kire will always play like Kire always has. Leader will always play like Leader always has. Dandan will always play like Dandan always has. These guys will never get to develop because they're never allowed to feel comfortable somewhere else while they're feeling uncomfortable trying new things and developing in the game. So I just think that like the way Misfits as an organization is running right now is probably really detrimental to specifically a rookie team. And the counterpoint to that would be like Rogue. Rogue, when they moved Larson up, moved everyone up. Like they moved his entire Ultra Liga team, the amateur Polish league that they were in. They moved every single player up, right? So whenever these guys got punished, like when Finn started getting punished from his Kled and the way that his Kled plays out, he was able to develop probably far more comfortably than anyone on the Misfits lineup would have been able to develop. Because anyone on the Misfits lineup doesn't have that sort of like controlled, comfortable environment outside that they are used to. They actually have a zone of comfort in Rogue to move back to. So those guys were always going to be more likely to develop, and they are still looking good. They fucking shit-stomped Schalke today, for example. Like, I just think, like, I don't know what your take on this is. Like, can you actually develop as a rookie if, like, the organization behind you is, like, changing your environment so much you have no comfort to go back to in a period in your life where, in-game, you're always going to be thrown out your comfort zone because you're having to play against better players than you've ever played against, you know?
The big problem I have with Misfits is because the original project was so much money and they've literally wiped the deck, I have a horrible suspicion that next year they won't use the academy team and they'll just buy a whole new bunch of players and they will have actually wasted this academy team. And the worst thing is everyone is going to treat them like a million LCS subs in the past where they played 2 good games and then 4 bad games and everyone thinks, he's a write-off, he is a bust. And it's like I've got a video on this topic coming where basically the premise of the video is going to be, if you think it's bad that they wasted the superstar teams and all the money and then they wasted the coaching staff and then they even took the academy team out of academy, the ultimate crime is the last one, which is that they then fucked the academy team on the way out of the door. Yeah. And that is the most egregious part of how they've dealt with their entire org. You know, it's like they could have made all the same mistakes, but at the end, at least have saved something, you know, and had something to go to next year with. I think they'll have even tanked like the fucking names of some of these players as well. Because like you were saying before, mate, if the only place people knew Dan from was the shit Origin years ago, and then now this Misfits team, they're going to think he's garbage. Like, look at that game where he could never ever get going because his team never gave him a fucking chance in lane. Like, games like that stick in people's minds. It's depressing. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, I don't disagree at all. I completely agree with you on that. I don't know.
It's like depressing, isn't it?
The whole Misfits story is insanely depressing, The whole
But, I mean, I guess one thing you could absolutely say as well is, like, I guess no one from G2 does give a fuck because they've done it again. They've literally just given another free game, except they didn't. They won it this time because they're too good. But they attempted to give another game to a team in the playoff hunt. Dude, I know you're right, actually, by the way. The only real way this could ever be resolved is it's a franchise league. The other teams have to come together and say, we will not stand for this. Like, we own part of this fucking league. What are you doing letting this team dick us around because they've won enough games? Like, this is totally unprofessional behaviour. Especially because, yet again, Veteran, it's not even deniable because there's all the fucking tweets, isn't there, where he just confirms that's what he did. Like, the thing about these guys is, do you want to know something interesting, Veteran? One of the reasons why every, like, thrown game that wasn't done on purpose to be secret is always really terrible in esports is because the one thing a young player can't do is throw the game, but also have you believe he really lost it. They always have to let you know. They have to, at least, at a minimum, they have to, like, do the wink and the nudge and imply that they threw it, all because they can't face the ego blow of someone actually think it was a real loss. Even though that's the perfect crime if you just let people think it was a real loss. That's actually how you get away with it. If at the end of the day, you can just say to Riot, what are you talking about? That's actually a real champion I want to play. You cannot get caught. I mean, you could still unfairly get wrecked, but you know what I mean? You'd have a pretty good case on your side, at least.
Yeah, like...
Because, like, at what point in time do you think this starts to happen? Like, surely Riot can't be happy with someone just literally picking champions based on signs, stupid tweets. Like, they can't want this for the integrity of their league, surely.
I mean, I am so sure that organizations are complaining to Riot about it, but, like, I feel like it can't just be, like, 1 or 2. I had heard that G2 had actually been given a warning behind the scenes, but, like, not, like, an official warning or anything. But obviously they don't seem to give a flying fuck. I'm very sure that they play games that are integral to the playoff race next week as well. Like, it's not like they can afford to do stuff like this 24-hour stream thing that he's proposing.
Sure.
And yeah, if all orgs, like, start complaining, I would assume they'd have to do something. I don't know, it's so fucking weird, actually. I can only just think that, like, Ocelot doesn't realize that there could actually be a threat here. Or
like,
maybe...
Put it this way, if I was Ocelot, as in literally me, I wouldn't do it because I think, you know, integrity of matches is important. But if I was Ocelot, as in who Ocelot is, as long as it's not a real thing that's going to get people banned from the game, like if Riot just said behind the scenes, we're going to fine you €1,000 for that, I'd just be like, I'd just go, all right, yeah, sorry about that. Then I'd go to the locker room, tell the players, here's another 1,000, fucking do it next week. Fuck these cunts. Why not? It's amazing PR, looks sick. As long as you win the game, it looks fucking awesome, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they get so much free PR off this that if they do put any amount of fines on it, equivalent to what they have previously done, and they've never done very big fines ever, then I'm very sure that they'll just assume that the PR they get fucking offsets it. They'll basically just treat it like they're paying a PR company, 100%.
Like, in a stupid sense, it's almost more impressive that G2's only lost 2 games, because they've done at least, like, fucking 6 drafts off the top of my head that was stupid, that, like, a normal team should lose with. Except this is how you know, Veteran. This is why I fucking hate fans. It's like on any topic just turn into like a fucking monkey that just turned to talk and go, what do you think? And he just goes, he goes with brilliant, that just means nothing. That's like what checking with the fans is like. Because you know what they do, Veteran, is anytime I ever claim they did those picks, people just try and explain why it's fine that they did it because they won the game. It's like, you are aware that's just because they're way better. Like, what they did didn't make any sense. Then again, mate, I told you. I used to tell Monty this so many times. I used to tell him, stop fucking telling me that SK Telecom has the best draft if you agree they also have the best players and are the best team. Like, what do you expect? They're going to have fucking draft problems. What, they're going to be like, oh, sorry, we have the absolute best top laner, mid laner and ADC, but we can only draft 2 things. Like, that wouldn't even make sense, would it? Obviously, they have the best draft. Goes without saying. Where's the logic on this?
I mean, like, think of the amount of flame that Coma got for his drafts, and they were losing.
Of course. Everyone was picking the draft first on every loss, mate. Yeah. I remember it.
I guarantee you the draft system itself that they had behind the scenes did not change. Because I was in one of those situations. Like, really early on in Spring Split, my drafts were being flamed on broadcast all the time. And then when we started winning everything, suddenly my drafts were really, really good and our drafts are clearly improved. It's like the system, I guarantee you guys, did not change. The drafts were exactly the same before as they were after. Nothing fucking changed whatsoever in our draft.
By the way, it goes without saying I'm not going to read Twitch chat where people who've never done this before then explain to me in depth how to do something that they don't know how to do.
They're actually all just saying true at your point about how they would be sad enough to look sharp.
They would, of course. You have to realise these are all just people who in a movie, they all get killed by the zombies. Like, they're not important. They're not the fucking main character or anything. Like, they're not going to add any dialogue to the movie. They're just a guy who runs up like, zombie! And just fucking gets yeeted off a fucking wall, doesn't he? That's everyone in your chat right now. Right, anyway, whatever. I've worked my way out of it there. I was in a bad mood there, but I've worked my way out by imagining all of your chat dying in a horrific zombie fucking... Right, but we're back now. We're back now, boys. Nice. It's all right. We're back. We've reined it in. Right. Okay, so Coach Osiris here, Osiris, whatever, however he says it, he's German, I think, has a question for us here. And why don't you just state the question? Make your premise for us.
So basically I just said that in my opinion, Leader will never be on a top team. At least he will never be brought onto a top team. I think there's a chance that he will get brought onto a team and he could develop it into a top team. I'm just saying it like right away because we could get there later with my statement, but yeah.
Is there a reason why? Like, what are the main reasons that you think he's not going to get picked up or put on a starting roster or whatever?
Yeah, so the main reason is like his, I would say, behavior and like how he sees the game and how he's reacting or interacting with other people. I'm not sure, Veteran, did you ever scrim with him before?
Scrim with... Oh, I've watched scrims with him, but I've never scrimmed with him like... IRL face-to-face.
Okay, because I had like this experience having him in my own team and having him against my team, and yeah, I think this is a point that I can also make later on. So yeah, like my basic point is, I think the way he thinks and the way he wants to do stuff wouldn't match with people who think properly about the game, and I also think like he would never match.
Like, is he too selfish as a player or something?
You can say that, and also how he's like communicating, how he says stuff. Basically, when he's losing mid, sometimes he says stuff like, "Oh well, jungle difference" and stuff like this. Maybe if
during the game while it's still live.
Yeah, during the game while it's still live. I mean, maybe he doesn't meant to be toxic in the way, but it brings the team mood down. Really.
Yeah, that sounds pretty fucked up. Yeah, it's obviously something you shouldn't say. Okay. Right, what do you think of this Veteran? It's not a bad case he's built.
I've worked with plenty of players who have done similar and gone to the World Championships and gone very deep into the World Championships. That's not actually as uncommon as you might think. I also think that plenty of organizations in the LEC are currently playing with players who do those kinds of things. It is obviously not something that is encouraged by any of those organizations. I'm not very surprised to hear that Leader has done that in the past, especially since he only just turned 21. He actually has been very young for the last few years that he's been doing this, and some of the players that are in the LEC right now have said far, far, far worse things than that in their early days of scrimming. I can tell you that for an absolute fact. I do think that he won't necessarily be picked up by a top tier team, but I don't think that would be because of his attitude. There are at least 2 mid laners that have been picked up this split that have had far worse historical attitudes than Leader in a scrim environment, for which I could get some pretty spicy references in regards to. So I could have seen either of those 2 teams picking up Leader in their stead. What I think will prevent him, though, is the manner of his debut in the LEC. Like, all that teams will see now is that he is inconsistent, which you can expect the vast majorities of rookie to be, especially in an environment where things are constantly changing. That's something that is very unique to his situation. Humanoid has had a very static environment. Larson has had a very static environment. In fact, when they had Prophet on there, Prophet was playing for the second half of the Ultra Liga split. Who else? Nemesis has obviously had a very static environment. Abadage has not had such a static environment. There has been one change. You could argue it's not necessarily that big, but that would impact things, particularly if all of this is being talked about behind the scenes. I'm not entirely sure of the makeup of that. And they went through at least one coach change, like David Lim moved from there and moved to Excel, for example. So these kinds of things will absolutely impact a rookie that is... No, we literally just had this talk before you came on.
Yeah.
That he's actually being pulled out of his comfort zone. He needs a comfort zone elsewhere, essentially. And so, whereas I think it's not necessarily entirely his fault that he's having an inconsistent split, he hasn't been given anywhere near the room to develop to have any sort of consistency, like the historical rookie teams, with the exception of Vitality, who instead decide to spike early and finish later on much lower than they did when they spiked early. Historically speaking, you need a long-ass time for this.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but in my opinion, he would have to change his mindset about playing the game. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
not sure about who you are talking directly when you say there are much worse players in scrim environments. Who are now on an LEC team or a better team even, because I have never played with players much higher. So my question would be, do they also have the same mentality about champ pool?
About champ, one of them is famous for it. Yes, one of them is very famous for it.
I've got a question for you, Veteran. What about this then? So one of the things that people actually say is to blame for how many deaths he has in a lot of these games he's had in LEC is that outside of as an individual player, he doesn't have very good game awareness, like map awareness and where he's supposed to be, what to do next. Is that not true?
That's half true. He has very good awareness relative to the enemy jungler. What he seems to have is terrible awareness relative to his own jungler. I don't think he is actually taking into account where his team is on the map, as opposed to just purely tracking the enemy team. Like, he doesn't understand the strengths that his own team is able to provide to him at that particular moment in time, and these are the things that he's having difficulty keeping track of. So yes, but in a very, very specific way. I think it's important to identify those kinds of ways. Especially if, like, we want the guy to improve. And I do want the guy to improve. On the champ pool point, yes, and there are some very famous historical examples of players who have had this kind of attitude in terms of champ pool, but have been lauded as some of the best in their position, which is ultimately what he keeps trying to fall back to. However, that kind of tendency can be encouraged away. Like, we got that guy to play a champion that nobody ever thought that he would play. And everybody probably knows right now exactly who I'm talking about if they do a cursory thought process of my team history. But it's absolutely possible to get these guys to expand out their pool, especially in the early stage that Leader is in. Leader is, like, not necessarily like an atypical player in this regard. Most of these rookies will come up with, like, a one-trick style and then become something far more. Jankos, for example, is an equivalent of a guy in the jungle who had a very, very particular style that netted him, like, the term First Blood King, and wasn't really very good for different jungle metas, but he has become an incredibly versatile player. You know, you are able to force development in this kind of sense, and that is ultimately the job of a coach. And I've seen, like, much more stubborn players than Leader develop in this way.
Yeah, I agree totally. But to the point that Thorin just made, that was also a point that I wanted to make too. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, do you know why Misfits, I think Prime they called themselves, right, for EU Masters?
Premier, but yeah.
Premier, yeah. Do you know why they didn't get any scrims before that?
Is it okay? So
mean-
first, I didn't know that they didn't get scrims before that.
Okay.
But if I had to assume why they wouldn't get scrims before that, I would assume that some people would rage quit the scrim.
For example, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. This is like a behavior that you can't afford to have on on a top team. Like, let's say
Sure.
if you say I said top team, so he will never get brought into a top team. What do you think about a
Just
top
to
team?
clarify, are you accusing Leader of this right now?
No, I don't want to say this. I don't want to
Okay,
accuse
because
any
then it's
player
not
publicly.
relevant to Leader himself.
I mean, do I actually have to say I mean, I don't know, so I
Because
can't.
that's a very, very harsh accusation to
No,
levy on him
I don't.
publicly.
I won't accuse anyone of this.
When it comes to
But what-
players like that, like I can say to you, as much as I want that, I have worked on teams of players like that have gone as high as they have, and that I have actually been in that situation, so I was very able to make the link of where you were going there. Like, there's only one reason why I've ever had like huge difficulty getting to it, and that has been exactly because of that. Doesn't excuse it, but I will say that when players are young and when players are developing, these kinds of things will happen, particularly in those kinds of environments. It's inexcusable, but it's not like players that have those tendencies aren't in the LEC right now.
Let me ask
Though
you
I
this
do
then,
ultimately
Veteran.
agree with your premise. Yeah.
Right. One of the reasons why people like Forgiven would always have had a job in the past
say Forgiven.
is because there is no franchising when he was playing.
Yes.
In a modern world of franchising, the point I've always made is the owner of the team is now god of the league. He decides who plays in LEC. If the 10 owners of the 10 LEC teams decide that they don't like Leader's attitude and that they haven't seen enough from him as a player, he won't be on any of the teams. Never mind a good team, he won't be on any team.
Yeah, can I jump in there?
Sure.
Yeah, go on.
I mean, this reminds me of something that I also wanted to say because, I mean, I was hoping that Thorin would say something like this.
Sure.
Because if you compare Leader to, let's say, Caps, Caps was also in the beginning a very coin flippy player, and that is why
And a
Thorin.
very toxic one. I
And
want
very
to throw
toxic
that
one.
out.
Of course, yeah. And I think this is what Thorin is seeing in Leader right now, that he's like a coin flip player. Maybe he's toxic, maybe he's not toxic, whatever. But he can develop to a really, really talented player. But
Yep.
the difference, what I have heard, I have never played with Caps or anything. So I have heard that Caps from day one, he could like oversee the whole map. He could see where the enemy jungle is. He could call around his team. He could like say stuff that was important for his team. Am I wrong?
I completely disagree with that. This guy couldn't even
Okay.
sideline because he didn't have the awareness to do so. Fnatic themselves have gone very extensively into how they essentially had to bring in Youngbuck to solve this particular issue. Beforehand, they had to make up for his inability to actually ascertain the map state and react properly to it by having reckless sidling for most of 2017. So I do think that's a mischaracterization of Caps.
Okay, maybe
So-
maybe I have heard it differently, maybe wrong. But this is only from hearsay, so maybe it's totally wrong. So what I have heard is that he could call stuff, like he could say something, like he contributes to what the team wants to do, right? But this is like nothing that I have heard that Leader is doing.
In
for example.
2017, no. In 2018, yes. But one thing I do have to say is that one of the reasons why it was so instrumental that Caps developed in this way is because he had a jungler that wasn't able to take that kind of agency for him. Whereas, for example, Nemesis is the absolute epitome of what you're saying in terms of he doesn't talk. He just never had to. He was a mute. Selfmade did all of that for him. And he is also developing to become more and more vocal. I'm just saying that, like, and he's literally in the same situation Caps was. There are plenty of mids right now who would not take that kind of shot calling role, but are currently on top teams. NukeDuck, for example, isn't really one of those guys, but he has cold. You know,
I mean, I don't want to say that you have to be a shot caller in the mid lane. I just want to say that if you compare Leader to someone else, then there are differences. Why?
It sounds like you think he's starting with more disadvantages than the other
Yes.
players you might
Sure.
compare him to, basically. They have kind of more going for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
right.
I won't disagree with you there. Like, Humanoid is more versatile. Larson is one of the most complete rookie mids we've ever seen immediately enter. So I don't disagree with you there that he starts off like lower. That's never been my argument. My argument is being that he has a higher ceiling than any of those guys.
What about what I was bringing up, though, Veteran? Because basically, like the obvious example of this is it already happened in LCS. Like, Dardoch does not start for a single team in LCS, yet he is clearly better than like half the junglers who are active starters.
Yeah,
so what that means is all of those owners in the league are literally saying, basically, if you have the attitude, or at least the rep he does, fuck you. Like, you have to basically be faker, otherwise we're not going to play you.
The big like example to bring up when you say that for like European sensibilities would be almost the entirety of Vitality, who qualified as Giants Gaming, and these were definitely guys that no one really wanted to play with, that had very, very toxic reputations and stuff like this, and they were able to brute force their way in. Like, ultimately, I don't disagree with your premise that he won't end up on a top team, but I don't think that these characteristics themselves, like, alone, would ever be the reasons why, because so many of the players that are on the current top teams and were brought in as rookies on the other top teams have displayed so many of these characteristics, sometimes even all in one, as you say, of leader. And some of these players that I was talking about didn't actually brute force their way in. They did like kind of get hired in. I don't think Leader's going to be able to get that chance, though, because of the circumstances of his debut. I also don't disagree with you that these things are undesirable and do need to be weeded out of Leader. Like, I absolutely do not disagree with you on that whatsoever. That is ultimately a lot of the job of the coaching stuff. Do you coach for a national league right now?
I mean, I did in the past. Right now, I'm working with Eintracht Frankfurt. I don't know if you know them. It's a German football club.
Sure.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm like establishing a local League of Legends team. And for the next year, we are planning to qualify for the first National League, if possible. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
So what you do is you come on here, you queer all of Leader's chances, and then you say, listen, you got nowhere else to go, but I've got one last place you could play. You better kiss the ring. There you go.
Yeah, I mean,
so,
I've had
as you get higher up, you're going to realize that a lot of these people do have, how do I politely say this, undesirable personality traits that you'll have to spend a large amount of your time as a coach trying to work around and trying to sometimes even turn into pluses. But ultimately, this has been a pretty big strength of the region, is that we are very how do I say it, verbose with each other, in a way that you will then see people coming back from NA like Miffy complain that the Americans aren't actually like at all. Ultimately, you do need these players to be interacting with each other. And even if that interaction is better jungler wins, well, that will give his jungler the opportunity to argue back with him. Whereas in NA, you'll just see people sitting in silence all the time. Like, I've talked to enough Europeans who go to NA to know the personality differences and why this actually ends up being a bad thing. You will have to manage these personalities, and obviously you will have to tell the guy that there are other ways to fucking express it than just going better jungler wins in the middle of a game, because that's obviously unacceptable. And you will have to have a lot of these conversations. I'm saying there are a lot of players other than Just Leader who have those kinds of things. And this kind of stubbornness is how he ended up becoming such a strong individual player as he did in the first place. That's why very often these kinds of things go hand in hand. Again, it's probably not going to take Twitch that very much time to figure out some of the other players that I was referencing that I have worked with in the past. So,
I mean, by the way, I didn't bring up this topic because of Reddit or something. I never was on Reddit like once, so
I don't care if you're on Reddit or anything.
So, and also I wanted to like go on the show with the same topic like 3 weeks ago or something, but I have the time, like all the time, because I do something. Do you have a next topic? Because I would have something else that we could talk about.
Go on, then. Give us a try. We'll see what it's like. We'll test us, see what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of things in my head, right? But just because I saw it today, what do you think about DOS and the change in ADC?
About what?
Like,
what did you say
DOS.
first?
Yeah, DOS, like the support for Misfits.
You know who DOS is?
No.
DOS, okay, so Thorin gets introduced to what Misfits did this week. Misfits booted Neon and Heaver, or at least benched them, and brought back Hans Sammer.
Heaver, right?
Well, I think Heaver was the only person they really needed to sub in initially. Okay. And they brought in Hans Sammer back with DOS, who is the current rank 1 on EU West by MMR tanking, and is also the last 3 competitive games DOS played, he got completely shit-stomped in, not including these LEC games, by Heaver himself. So this was a little bit questionable. His debut game did not go well at all, and the second game looked a bit better from the start, but this was the game where G2 picked fucking Soraka, and it all kind of went downhill at a point. So Yeah, now you get introduced to that Thorin, and I've said like a lot on my stream what I think about the situation. I think this fucks both Heaver and DOS. There's no way that DOS is going to be able to come in and have like a really strong debut. Obviously, he hasn't. And there's no way that this is going to do any good, like Thorin is saying, to like the other orgs that are looking at him, you know? Like, this is just another rookie roster that is being fucked over by Misfits. Like, I really disagree with this entirely. And the reactions to this, when you looked at the Reddit thread yesterday, were literally not, oh, I guess Heaver wasn't that bad then. It was, wow, DOS is even worse than Heaver. Like, great. How many more support reputations do you want to tank in this pointless pursuit? Like, why even trying to fix the rookie team? Like, we know rookie teams normally take at least half a split to fucking do well. Like, the whole thing makes no sense. It's just a continuation of the terrible tendencies you're already seeing from Misfits. So.
Yeah, I mean, you already talked a lot about, like in the past, about Misfits and their, let's call them fuck-ups or something. Why do they still keep changing something? I mean, the split is already over for them. Like, why do they still bring new people in? What's the reason? I don't understand.
So
they obviously don't know the saying "too little, too late," do they? They don't really understand that premise, apparently.
I mean, that, as far as I know, these decisions are handled specifically by the coaching staff. So, I mean, you honestly have to ask them. I wouldn't make these kinds of decisions. I honestly can't get in the mindset of the kind of person who would make these decisions. My mind is kind of blown by that. I mean, you could kind of point out that I did make like last minute substitutes when we were already out of playoff contention, where I did that because we were supposed to have that roster weeks ago, but some of us ended up in fucking hospital because that was a really nice split. So it took a while for us to be able to have the full roster we were supposed to get. But
I would speculate, like, here's a reason I could come up with.
They didn't go to hospital.
I think what happens is, since they didn't make any changes for so long, they're just trying to make a change. They're trying to get any small win they can. And so, you know what? If this guy had come in and had one good game, there's one thing you could have at least said for Misfits. They might not have won the match. They might not have done well. The rookie squad might not have. But at least one coach could have said, see, it was a good call to bring this guy. It's like, I think these people are stupid enough. They're really thinking, we've done everything else. Try. We don't know what the fuck works, so just try anything else that's available. So they did. Just called up another guy. I don't know why. It didn't make any sense to me.
But Veteran, you are following the German scene, right? You're watching.
Yes, specifically Big mostly. I haven't actually watched the very recent playoff games yet, though I do know that Shadow hard smurfed, and fucking props to him. That's the guy I've been bigging up on my stream for a long ass time. But I haven't specifically watched those games yet, if you're going to ask me about them.
Not directly, but SK is like, they went to relegations, you know?
Yeah.
And do you know what changes they did? I mean, they changed top lane, and they changed support.
Yeah, I mean, well, the top was going to change. DOS was removed almost immediately, and I mean, what do you want to know about the changes, or my opinion on them?
I don't necessarily want to know something about, but this is like a point I want to make. Because SK went to EU Masters, and they went into the finals, and they had DOS. And they removed DOS, and they instantly went to relegations. I mean, I'm just speculating.
They also removed the MVP of the tournament, Sucre. By the way, I just want to throw that out there.
I mean, that also, but this is not like what's something. I don't know if this should change the whole team. Like, they still had Genax, and you saw like Genax is insane.
No, this kind of thing changes teams. Like, there are dynamics that teams kind of go up in, right?
You're right.
And
I mean, they never used to play to that guy's lane anyway, right? It was all to top lane.
Yeah, it was all to top lane. So obviously I'm going to say that Sucre did it, but like, even if we say that Sucre was like the only change that they made, for example, that can still be a huge fucking deal to the dynamic of that team. There have actually been plenty of like worse players that actually add something to said team environment behind the scenes. Off the top of my head, we hear a lot about like Vizicachi's place in Splice, for example. Like, he's not necessarily one of the like A-tier top laners, but he has a very important place on that team. Much has been said of like Matter's decline in the last few years, but he still has a very valuable place in most of the teams that he's in. Miffy is our equivalent of that, you know? like maybe Sakura or DOS like had a more valuable place on that team other than just like what we see in game. But outside of that, maybe there were ways that people bounced off of them. And the big example I like to say here is, you remember way back when Xpeke was subbed out for Power of Evil in Origin?
Yeah,
and loads of people just assumed that that would be like a really big tune-up. I worked with that Origin roster, and what happened was that in-game, Amazing and Miffy would very often have discussions about what should be happening in game, and the guy who always forced the decision to come out and for the discussion to end was always Xpeke. Xpeke was really like the captain in that sense, but he wasn't doing the shot calling. This is a different thing from shot calling. But when you remove that from the dynamic, it didn't matter which mid you put in, because this very important aspect of the dynamic, this like end point of it, was fundamentally changed. For all we know, those players had that. If you see like a roster make like one change, it doesn't mean that that player is actually a fucking god and we don't understand the game. Maybe there was just some way that he was bouncing off people that like was actually very important to make the team work on the ground, and that probably happened with SK. Though again, come on, they moved the fucking MVP of the EU Masters up.
I agree. I agree with you. I don't disagree with you. But what I wanted to say is, like, I watched the games, and I thought that DOS was like a huge part in why they had success. I mean, he was making plays. And he was forcing the team to make decisions. Let's say it like this.
I agree. He forced the team to make decisions.
I mean, I don't know about the communication, but he at least did something, you know?
I think that if you kept DOS Kadui bot lane in, they would get absolutely rolled over by the bot lanes that you have in German League right now. Like, I think that Sergio and Bravado, for example, could roll over them. Obviously, now you have Kazi Lavrov on one fucking team.
Yeah,
like, these guys are completely outclassed. Maybe you can make the argument that they might do worse against some lower tier teams, but bear in mind, like, look who fucking Gilius is playing with right now. Like, there are so many strong bot lanes in German League that, especially if we're in a bot-centric meta, I really don't think that bot lane's doing anything. There's been an arms race in the German League in response to Kazi Lavrov, and that doesn't look good for a Kadui DOS lane. Those guys were, I mean, just remember how they played at EUM, man. When they came up against, like, LDLC, when they came up against Misfits, by the way, teams with, like, very strong bot lanes, like, they couldn't do anything.
Okay, yeah, so this was basically a point that I was making just to get your opinion. It's not like I really think DOS is a good player myself, but I think, or maybe I thought there could be something out there.
I really don't want to like trash too much on DOS because he's gonna have a hard enough time as it is after this debut weekend anyway, you know? So
yeah, sure, I understand, yeah.
All right.
I do want to pick up that book.
Okay, yeah, thanks for having me. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. So your question, well, topic to talk about is an interesting topic. You said the top 3 EU teams all have huge problems that will be taken advantage of on the international stage, right? First of all, just clarify, when you say top 3 European teams, which 3 are we talking about?
Well, it's subjective a little bit, but my top 3 teams are Fnatic, I mean, first the G2, but Fnatic and Spice.
Right. Okay. So now we've got those 3. What do you think? Like for each of them, is it a different reason for each as to why they'll be exploited internationally?
Yes.
Let's go team by team then. Go on, give us G2 first. Then obviously that's the big one that everyone wants to hear.
G2 are basically trolls right now. They're trolling almost every game. I think they're kind of like IG, and we saw what happened with IG. They lost their structure after they started like fucking around and trolling with the way they played. But G2 are different. They fuck around like with their picks and less with their play. But it's the same. It's same. They will lose their structure over time. I think the more they fuck around. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
So when they get to international stage, I think the top teams from each region will definitely take advantage of that.
And what will they take advantage? Like when you say they'll lose their structure, like what's going to happen differently at Worlds than in LEC?
Well, the way they play, they'll start being more aggressive. They'll forget that they are like a mid-game team. They'll start doing more shit early, like very risky, you know.
Okay. And that will be a problem? That'll get them smacked?
Yeah.
So I prefer that they fuck up with or troll around with their picks than that they troll around with their play, which is what IG was doing. Because the structure of how you play the game itself is very divorced from like your mechanical
Yeah,
play.
but the champions they pick change the way the game is played.
But not the important parts that make G2 itself strong, which I think are their reset timings and their very, very particular use of vision control in the mid game. I don't think their champion picks affect either of those two. Normally, I would say to you that, like, okay, so for example, with Fnatic, I think champion picks matter a lot more. Whereas I think the reason why G2 get away with as many stuff as they do is that so much of what is good about them is not reliant on mechanical prowess on specific champion matchups. It is very much a map-centric thing. It is a timing-centric thing. And these things don't necessarily get fucked up by doing these kinds of troll drafts. Maybe you could argue that it makes it harder to get tempo leads and use specific tempo leads in these kinds of manner, but it doesn't change the fundamentals behind those, if that makes sense. So I'm a bit more comfortable with them doing this. Where I would be worried about G2 getting abused is the fact that they have the same philosophy when they are ahead in tempo, almost irrespective of their picks. I think that actually means it's actually easier to study G2 if you see behind all of the, oh, it's Soraka top lane, oh, it's Garen top lane, oh wait, it's like always top lane now that I think about it. Like all of these fucking like troll picks, so long as you see behind the smokescreen of all that, I think they're actually somewhat easier to figure out than teams may be realizing right now.
Caps is basically like picking Azir every game.
Yeah, I mean,
And no one is taking advantage of that or banning it.
I really think that champion's broken, to be honest. So
and you can see
do
his
that.
solo queue. He changed his name to Azir One Trick on solo queue and just spams every game.
Yeah, he spams it every game because it's free fucking rank 1 unless you're like tanking MMR. But like, yeah, like I do think that champ's broken. But I don't think that if you ban that champion that will affect the system by which G2 are getting their leads. I do think that you can figure out the system in which they're getting their leads and then just start a thought process of how do we counter that system. And I don't think their champion picks like disguise it in any way, nor do I think it fundamentally changes what that system is. So I think they could be vulnerable for a completely different, like literally a completely different reason than you.
I'd even throw in, I have to say, for a team that's done troll picks, it's like I said the comment before, you almost can't even complain about the one today because they won the fucking game anyway. It's like, I don't think I've ever seen a team play troll picks or weird picks as well as this team has. Like their mentality, it's like somehow they're one of the only teams I've seen, Veteran, that actually look like whatever happens in the draft, they don't think about it again in the game. It's like, right, these are the champions we have, it's too late now. You picked something silly, I picked something whatever, but now we play with it. So what can it actually do? Like to me, that's the reason why the Garen one was so egregious, because he obviously didn't himself know what to do with it. If he'd have at least half played that champion a bit, he could have maybe still done something cool with it anyway, you know. So
I think a really good example.
I even think they're pretty strong in that sense mentally.
Yeah, no, I think they are. I think that, I mean, again, when I hear people saying that, like, oh, wow, you say they have a system, it must be, like, insanely strong or something like this. No, all top teams have always had, like, something like this going about them. Like, Samsung White had a very, very particular system going about them. IG had a very particular one. SKT had a very obvious one, even. Like, most people know what SKT's system was. All these legacy teams have one, and that, once you figure out the way that you are moving around in the game of League of Legends, that almost becomes entirely divorced from champion picks. What the big game changers when it comes to champion picks are globals, for example. When you have more stuff like this that you have to take into account, because these change like specific pockets within the map, right? And I don't just mean like red side valves or something like this. I mean this literally restricts the movements that you can or can't make on the map. These are the big game changers, but outside of that, typically speaking, these systems will be divorced from champions. So.
Okay, right, let's move to the next team then. What about Fnatic then? Give us your reason. What's going to happen to Fnatic if they go international?
I think the way they play, I don't think they have a identity or just I think they have an identity, just they don't want to play that way. Their identity is very bad.
It doesn't fit them.
The champions they pick, no, it fits them. I think they should play that way, but it's just a bad in the meta. bad structure to play in this current meta. And Reckless and some players have lost their identity. I think Reckless right now is not an AD carry player. You see Karma every game. I think and Garen now, which was pretty weird.
So, okay, apparently there's been an interview today where Reckless like expressed like some grievances or something. Like I don't know, in terms of like Fnatic systems themselves. God, do I want to say that Fnatic will just like lose because their jungle system is just worse? I mean, if they don't get these like early priorities off, I do think that they are very, very, very vulnerable, and I think that most EU teams have already exposed that. So I don't think you're making like a contentious point. In terms of whether it's in meta or not, I think they have two strategies that are very, as a result, they are very like meta resilient. I do think that their top side strategy is way less open to holes than their bot side strategy is. I think their bot side strategy will get taken apart by IG, even if it's a bot centric meta. But overall, you're not going to get too much of a pushback from me if you're saying that Fnatic are going to get abused at the international stage. I do think that they are more than good enough to beat North American teams anyway, and I think most Chinese teams won't actually take into account what they do and how to beat it. When it comes to the Korean teams, I have not VOD reviewed the Korean teams enough to tell you how good these guys would be adapting to something like that, because honestly, the few games I have watched from Korea do make me think that they are uniquely vulnerable to the kind of shit Fnatic try to pull, because Fnatic take into account turret platings in their system far better than Korean teams are doing in theirs. And I actually think that's a huge deal right now that they don't necessarily realize. Like, I think turret platings are literally what won Origin the game versus Excel today. So yeah, like that would be my whole statement on it. You know, you're not going to get much pushback from the idea that Fnatic can get figured out. Like, come on, you know, you're not going to get that pushback from me.
Okay, what about Splice then? What's the reasoning for this one?
Their early game is bad, and their mid game is non-existent, except when they try like something early game. Like mostly it's early ganks mid. So I think China will just have a better early game than them, and I think they'll just lose from there. And I think Korea will just destroy them in mid game, since they don't have that good of an early game to take advantage of Korea.
I mean, you know, you're not going to get too much pushback from me about Splice either. Okay, what I can say about Splice is that I don't think that they have just done stuff around like the midsection. I do think that they have done. Okay, there have been 3 good early games from Splice this split. Okay, I don't think that they all arrived at having like a really strong early game in the same way.
Like two games, I'm pretty sure they got from early ganking mid.
I would argue that the first one was definitely like a straight up early gank mid. I'd argue that the second one was instead matching mid priority, which is subtly different. And then the third one had absolutely nothing to do with that. The third one actually had everything to do with recognizing the top jungle state of their opponent. And that is very, very, very critical, because this means that if Splice go up against a team where it's not just going to be solved in like a level 2 mid gank, they aren't just going to go do a level 2 mid gank. They have shown that they can actually plan around like different map setups from their opponents. They can plan very specifically and very targeted towards them. I would be very worried about them in a best of 1 scenario, because they will need to see more games before they realize how these guys are playing out, whatever the world's meta is, because that's always different from what the playoffs meta is. But if they do that, if they are able to get through the first weekend without being like completely obliterated and they get to the second round robin, then I think that they will be fine. And if they make it to playoffs, I think that in the best of 5 scenario, they are way stronger than they would ever be in a best of 1 scenario. My big issue is the mid game. Because their
playstyle suits to playoffs, because everyone just plays safer there and don't try too much early game.
Not that. I think it's that Splice themselves have very targeted plans, and as a result, they can adapt well over a series. Because they actually have a framework that they can throw in and take stuff out of. These guys are used to planning around those kinds of scenarios. So I think it's that, on top of, obviously, do you really want to slug it out for like 5 hours straight against Splice? Because that's probably what you're going to have to do if you play Splice in the best of 5. And these are the guys that are used to it, not you.
35 minutes, God.
Yeah, well, not today. Today was a fucking 38-minute long game. Jesus fucking Christ, man. That was versus SK as well. Holy shit. But I do think that ultimately the big issue of Splice will become their mid-game. And ultimately that will become their issue because we are now seeing strategies that specifically abuse teams that do not have a strong cohesive mid-game, like the Garen Yuumi. The Garen Yuumi is something that will always spike in the mid-game almost no matter what you do to it in the early game. And in the mid-game, if your mid-game is not actually like very cohesive, then they will find windows in which to do something. And teams just have to find like similar things that they can do that could specifically target Splice's mid-game, which is where they have always been historically weak. These guys essentially give up tempo in the early to mid transition phase. Saying it's just the mid game is a bit facetious. It's technically still an early game issue. They are very bad about transitioning into a state of map control in the mid game. They give up tempo all the fucking time doing it. This has always been their problem. And there are so many teams like IG in particular that are really good in that stage of the game that will completely and utterly demolish them, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. We good then?
I think in general, I
Yeah,
would say of the three, Splice should have an extremely hard time internationally. Like, if you think of the teams that will very likely go from China and Korea, they will tear that ass up in the mid-game. Like, these teams are even going to be better at team fighting than Splice's. So I don't really know where Splice gets an edge against, like, Griffin, fucking IG. Like, I mean, IG's not actually that good at the moment, but if they get there, they have to be good. So I don't really see how you're going to get an easy matchup if you're any of these teams.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't disagree there. I don't think anyone's going to push back on the... Like, what have I been saying? Like, really sorry for anyone from Splice who's here, but what have I always been saying? Like, if Splice make it to Worlds, then I'm actually pretty worried about the state of the top 3 that Europe is sending.
Well,
like, they are still gatekeepers.
The way all the teams are playing right now in EU, I think Splice are definitely...
I think they're going to make it. Looks like it at the moment.
Yeah.
I think the overall level of EU is just... it's pretty shit. I just can't watch this game.
Symptomatic of the issue. Like, if Splice are able to qualify for Worlds, especially in the state that they are in, that means that someone's dropped the ball somewhere. Right now, I point out.
Yeah. You talk about about Splice and Vitality, and Vitality in the second part of the they started rising up and just winning games, and there's the Schalke too, which I don't think is a very a lot of weak teams are like at the top.
Yep. Like Misfits collapsed, bringing the level really far down. Rogue brought in the new rookie roster because of issues that they had with their last roster, kind of brought the level a little bit down. Splice never redeveloped, Vitality never developed, but then the big team that definitely dropped the ball that is kind of giving the gateway is Origin. Like, you always have to point to that. They are the most disappointing team of the summer split, 100%. Now I know what it is like to be a KT fan, finally. Like, it's living hell, being disappointed by a team that should be so fucking strong and is so full of smart players. And
they should fix the mistakes they're doing, but they're not, considering like every player is there smart, and they have good coaches. Like, they should definitely... too much of a deviation?
I mean, when it comes to... I actually somewhat disagree. I actually think that Origin's early game that they displayed versus... who did they play yesterday? Fuck. They played... Who did they play yesterday? Jesus, why can't I remember? They had a very fucking good early game yesterday, though.
They played Splice, apparently.
Oh god, yeah, they had a fucking very good early game yesterday versus Splice. They played the map
then they
expect Rift Rivals to do so, and then they made a very bad decision in the early to mid transition phase and got collapsed on, and then they lost all the tempo that they had gained. But previously, their early game was actually full of holes. Which is not symptomatic of them. So they are slowly but surely becoming the Origin of old, which is nice, but they're currently the Origin of like really early spring split, where in that particular transition phase of the game, they were also having issues. So hopefully they can speedily like recover everything and get back to the level that they were at pre-Rift Rivals, in which case, yeah, then maybe Splice don't make it to Worlds and we're not in the worst timeline. But I do think that there are hopeful signs for Origin. For any Origin fans that think I'm giving them too much hope, like it's still very difficult for them not to make it in. They just have to win one game, and Rogue would have to beat like Fnatic and G2 and shit like this. Like it shouldn't happen. So I do think that there's still likely that they come in, they knock out Splice, and the strength of the region looks even better. But otherwise, I would agree with you. Like, or even if just on the pure basis that one of the gatekeepers has made it in without making significant changes to the areas where they are weaker, Europe probably isn't going in a very strong state, and we are basically G2 reliant. Which, historically speaking, is not good if you just send like one really, really strong team to Worlds. Like, the first seed team is not the team that actually wins, historically speaking.
And G2 in the past.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, actually.
It's a pretty different team, though, to be fair. It was only one player. Yeah. It's the same, so...
Fuck that. You say
like
in the past...
Someone even made this point, Veteran. Here's what's interesting, is you can actually get all the players who were in the G2 2017 and 2016 lineups and just make a team with them minus perks.
True.
All 4 players are out there.
Yeah,
they're all not in the best position in teams, so you can actually remake that team. That's why if you were a real baller, Perks, what you'd do is this, mate. So if you win Worlds now, you leave and remake that squad for someone else, and then you try and come back and win the league. That's how you level up. There's a next level challenge, motherfucker. Then you go, listen, Caps, I enjoyed winning with you. Now I'd like to beat you to win. Then you go, that's next level. And obviously, if they weren't complete pussies hemorrhaging money everywhere, I'd say Fnatic should be the team to do it. But luckily, I think Fnatic might actually make my little wish come true and keep her like fucking 3/5 of that roster and fuck up next year as well. Great. Can't wait for it. Hope TSM does the same thing. Right, anyway, I think that's the end, right, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Titus, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You can explain it since it was a pretty long premise. So, what was the premise for this Titus?
Yeah, like I think that most regions are not taking the issue of psychological and physiological health seriously enough at this stage. I think EU has like got it like for this season, especially Origin, because they bragging about how they're doing with sports psychologists, and
that's mainly because they work a refresh, mate. I can tell you, the Astralis people did that 24/7 as well.
Yeah, okay.
So that's just their company brand, I think.
And you hear a lot about the EU teams and their surroundings, that they're doing a lot with this, especially with sports psychologists, which I think is very important. But I'm especially worried for many teams and regions that the physical health issue isn't addressed enough, and psychologically wise, especially Asia is gonna get into cultural problems, because the culture is like if you are in Korea and Japan, there are no psychological issues. Like if you have a mental health problem, then you like push it down until you crack.
I will say that the suicide rate in Korea is apparently very high for similar reasons. Like, the stress of school and your job and stuff. And you're not supposed to let on, because obviously they see it as a weakness, unfortunately.
In Japan, there's actually a forest that is called the suicide forest. It got like...
the Logan
PR, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's like my topic. And I just wanted to have like an insight from Veteran on that, like how he thinks on that, if he thinks that EU is ahead of the rest, or if maybe NA is doing something undercover we don't get and just gonna maybe fuck us all in the long term. I don't know.
What do you think, Veteran?
My personal experience on this, actually, it's pretty good timing that you did this, because this is going to seem like a really random detour, but last night I played PUBG again for the first time in fucking forever. I played for like 6 hours straight with like a friend of mine from the US, and I had to stop because ever since I was 21, 22, I've had repetitive strain injury on my wrists. I had to stop. I literally couldn't physically like open my wrist. Not open my wrist, but open my like palm. That kept going until I like woke up this morning. And even at the periods where I like woke up while I was sleeping, it still absolutely caned me, and I still couldn't have full functionality in it. That happened as a result of like the really high DPI that I've always used my mouse, which has caused me to not actually use the forearm to move the mouse at all. I literally only move my wrists. So all the strain was on something where the strain really shouldn't be. Like, it's not a muscle. It's once it's fucked for life, you know? So when I was obviously like growing up with esports, there was nothing like what you have now in terms of not just sports psychologists, but for me, the big thing is the physiotherapists. And the first time I encountered a proper physiotherapist was on Schalke. And this was the biggest takeaway of like what sports teams could potentially bring, which was actual professionals in these kinds of fields. And the guy would basically once a week completely destroy my forearm, by the way. Like, it fucking canes the shit he was doing. But for the rest of the week, I was like, a completely new fucking arm. Like, it was insane. Like, I could do as much as I want for as long as I wanted, and there would be no issue. That I'd have to get this like done again every week, or the problems would start coming back. There was a player on my team who was playing at a similar DPI to what I had, and when I saw the benefits of this, it was like, okay, as a priority, we need to like be monitoring this guy. He's still with Schalke, and he hasn't developed any of these issues yet, and hopefully in a few years, when he would be developing the issues that I developed, he won't be, because he's being constantly monitored in this regard, by actual professionals from within Schalke, and I think that that's only ever going to be a benefit. Now, there's other stuff like posture. You brought up nutrition and stuff like this that can also be got into, but there are definitely resources within Europe now to prevent these things becoming lifetime problems, and that was a huge issue for me growing up. Like, I just can't play all of the games that I used to anymore, and it's a large part of the reason why I'm a coach now. Yeah, like I completely agree on the importance of it with you. The resources are here. I think the physiological angle is something that needs to be brought up more, because everyone and their mums has had sports psychology memed at them ever since SK Gaming did their whole experiment with that sports psychologist. Remember that? So everyone's heard that part. I do want people to understand like the physiological effects of gaming for a long time. It's not even just your posture, just like everything we're doing is pretty fucking unhealthy, let's be real. None of it is not like natural per se, but none of it is stuff that we have adapted over hundreds of thousands of years to do. PC gaming is only really being a thing for the last like 20 or 30. And our bodies are just not really built for this. But now we have people who are professionals in the scene, preventing it causing lifelong effects for the players. And you know, G2 take this shit so seriously that they are willing to have Perks tweet out that 24-hour stream thing, you know, stuff like this. Like, they clearly have no issue when it comes to like working their players hard, but they recognize Mickey X's homegrown symptoms. They got him the help he needed, and they got him all the rest that he needed to figure out as well, because people do realize now that this causes lifelong things. I can't speak for NA, I can't speak for China, I can't speak for Korea, I particularly can't speak for the mental health issues those countries experience. All three of them, by the way, lest we believe that like North America doesn't have a mental health crisis going on. But I can say that at least in European esports, it's going well, and it's getting better, and I do hope more teams emphasize these kinds of regards. And I myself, by the way, was not like a big believer in sports psychologists. Like, I remember like memeing to a player that like, okay, so great. So instead of losing, you'll be losing, but you'll be getting a bike ride every day. That's really brilliant. You can be sad on the bike, like, because this is like the kind of shit sports psychologists do, you know. But I can at the very least see the benefits of it, particularly when it comes to certain teams. Do you remember the first guy that called in today? Those kinds of things are things that if you don't have like a lot of experience talking to those players, if you're just coming in fresh, you probably would need like a sports psychology background to talk about it. In my personal experience though, like a lot of these guys adapting to what esports demands and what esports players kind of consider to be their culture, hasn't always been smooth, and there has been a lot of, okay, this is kind of bullshit, coming from like a lot of players. But at least I know the sports psychologists in Origin is doing well, or so I've heard from like behind the scenes, not just from their own apparently very big Australis branding that Thorin just brought up to us. But I can see the benefits for that, given that I didn't necessarily see the benefits of the physiological side for ages. Like, I don't want to say that it wouldn't be a good thing. So that's my whole take on it.
The joke of the Australis part that I mentioned is, I can tell you the only time Australis ever went on and on about this brilliant complementary staff when they were winning. When they've just had this period, Veteran, where they haven't won a tournament in like 4 months, you never hear dick about all the other stuff. In fact, the reason I bring this up is because the guy who is the sports psychologist had the actual gall, no joke, in an interview to imply that they are part of the reason why other teams couldn't catch up in Counter-Strike to Australis. Now, if you know anything about esports games, the idea that like the sports psychologist was the missing link is so ludicrous. And as usual, notice this trend of people who do these jobs that might, in a good scenario, add 3% max to your game, acting like they're adding 30%. That's like the sign of a fucking snake oil salesman. Yeah. Like the whole thing is, if I come in and I'm Weldon, I would tell you from the outset, I might only be able to fix 1%, but you know what? Maybe that 1% will be enough to put you over the top. And maybe it'll help you contribute with this guy and this player here. Like one area I could see immediately, a sports psychologist would probably help most teams, is that most coaching staffs are so bad. I could even see someone just coming in who has experience talking to people and being like, your communication system isn't very good. You know, you always discuss things in one group after a game. Maybe you should take this player aside. Have a you know, even basics of that, I could see that helping. Just my point is, first of all, we don't have any of the best people in that field in esports right now. They're all making 10k an hour working for some legit god tier business guy, fucking sports athlete, whatever. So at the moment, we don't have the best yet anyway to really make the big impact. But like Veteran says, generally, I can't really see many instances it'll probably harm esports at the moment. I think everything's still on such a low level. You're probably worth giving it a shot anyway. In terms of I actually think, like he said, I think the physiologist guy is the most important one.
Yes.
Like the amount of, like, here's the sad thing. At this point in time, everyone knows the exercises. Just no one does them. You do them once when you watch the video, you maybe do it the next day, but to establish a habit takes like 3 weeks or something. So I would literally, no joke, have a guy like that, and I would make it like a little kids in kindergarten. It's like, right, everyone stand up, we all do the exercise now, follow what I'm doing, and I'd do that at the beginning and end of every day. And I'd make sure, because think about it, right, if you've got a player like Caps, you want to make 100% sure you did everything you could to ensure you had no possible injury, no like basis to get one, no overstrain, etc. Like I'd literally babysit those guys on that level because you can't trust them to do it themselves. Like half of them are just going to forget or say they did it or whatever, you know. And then the other part is, the one part I personally think is mad overvalued in esports though, is yes, in theory, you should want to have a healthy body, and that in theory would help stuff like even basic things like breathing and how much stamina you have. The problem is, I actually haven't seen that particularly affects esports. So I believe it helps sports for an obvious reason. It's like aerobic exercise, isn't it? The problem is, like I've made this point a million times, I've seen so many fat hacker-looking cunts dripping with grease who will murk any NA player who hits the gym and has a bicep like fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'll get you some guy who looks like he should be like a hacker from a 90s James Bond movie, and he will put fucking Acadian in a body bag. Because it's video games.
I mean, Broxer could probably take out any other EU jungler except Cold, maybe, in a 1v1 match, but he isn't by far the best jungler.
But put it this way, I'll bring you in some 13-year-old looking Chinese kid who will fucking style on him.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to chime in on some points. First, your point on the Astralis overvaluing their sports psychologist. I actually agree on this, that a sports psychologist doesn't make a team go from shit to amazing. That doesn't happen. Amazing just goes to NA. But a sports psychologist is very critical.
That was all right in the context of what we usually get, Veteran. I'll allow that. Keep going.
Okay. I'm sorry. The joke was terrible. I'm sorry. But the sports psychologist helps you to get those last percentages, like those last 2, 3, 5%, which you need to compete for the top. If you are bad and you want to compete for a top, a sports psychologist isn't going to do shit. But if you're 4th place and you want to go in for the 3rd or 2nd place, then a sports psychologist might be the little weight you need. in the end.
Sure.
And on the psychology, many people think it's just like I just go there, cry a little bit, and afterwards I feel like a new person. But it helps, especially young people. It helps to just know there is somebody that is neutral and doesn't talk shit about me in the team that I can just talk to. Like, I mean, we're talking about 19, 20, 21-year-old guys that play games for a living. Like, I mean, probably some of them have like a manifested personality and anything, but I guess many of them have their own issues. And to know that there is somebody to go to, like to talk to relieve some stress, maybe scream a little bit, maybe cry a little bit, I don't know, whatever they need. It's just it relieves a lot of stress from them. And the physical thing, what you said, yeah, of course, there are many fat people that totally would own us all in any given game. But I think if you put two players against another who are on the same level of skill, and one of them weighs like 250 pounds and the other one weighs like 150 pounds, then in a game, when the one is fit, like he's healthy, he's doing exercises, this one will win 9 out of 10 times. Because like the saying a healthy mind and a healthy body doesn't come from anywhere. Like there is basis on that.
So I would actually come back to you on that last point. I think the difference maker is actually confidence. And I think that sometimes being fit helps with confidence. I can tell you that the players that I know that have improved not dramatically, no one's improved dramatically, but the ones that have measurably improved from going to the gym are the ones that have asked the org specifically for gym membership, for a physical trainer, for all of this stuff, because they were insecure with their bodies, because they were insecure with the lifestyle that they were living, because they weren't drawing confidence from it. And when they saw the changes and when they saw how much better they were getting, when they looked themselves in the mirror and they were proud of themselves, they had the confidence necessary to make decisions in a mental game on the fly. And you do need confidence to be good at video games. It is a mental sport, and the biggest part of the mental sport is the decision that you make. But if you're delayed in that decision making, you will lose odds on in every single game that you play. That is including like chess and stuff like this. Like, you have to have the confidence to make the decision, have it be the right one and not choke. So I think a lot of the times, the reason why Thorin will see the fucking fat kid murk up the fucking gigantically shredded cunt, like, the reason he is seeing that is because the fat kid doesn't care that he's fat. The fat kid already has a fucking ego anyway, and the fat kid already has insane confidence on his skill level, and he's divorced that from his physical appearance. But not everyone has divorced it from their physical appearance, and a lot of those guys go to the gym and they're confident because of the physical appearance that they see of themselves afterwards. And I think it's the confidence that is the difference maker. Obviously, I don't have any studies to back that up. I have not experimented on this scientifically, but from what I have observed, that appears to be the big difference maker. And I think that a physiotherapist, a personal trainer, all of this kind of stuff ends up helping more consistently with confidence than a sports psychologist, in my experience. But hopefully that will be proven wrong eventually. I think it's just that there aren't really any books on how to deal with kids who have been yelling L9 for most of their teenage lives and trying to compare their permabands. Yeah. So, like, once they're a bit more used to the environment and the culture, I think sports psychologists will be more useful. But again, I don't think that it's a healthy body, healthy mind thing, in the sense that the healthy body directly affects your mind in that sense. I think it's the healthy body is affecting your mental state because you're confident about yourself.
Well, on that regard, like, and like you brought up chess. I don't know if you followed chess, like, to a certain degree. Like, there is this player, Magnus Carlsen. Like, he is like called the Mozart of chess. Like, I don't know anything more about it than him. And he, like, 3 or 4 years ago, he won like the world championship from this Indian guy, like 50-year-old Indian grandmaster of chess. And I read some interviews after that because I found it interesting that a Norwegian model, he is modeling in his free time.
Okay.
Yeah, that he became a grandmaster of chess at the age of 16, I think, and like he's doing sports and all the time. And many people, no, what's wrong? Okay, I don't know. So, and the thing is, many people said about him was that, because he's so young and he's so physically fit, that in long matches, like, he just out muscles his opponents because they just get tired. The endurance goes down. And I think, like, in a best of 5 scenario, maybe it could really help you if you're physically fit. You don't have to be like a fucking athlete with an 8-pack and what but if you're more fit, then you have more endurance.
Okay, I get the premise, but I will just say, like, I think I actually know a little bit more about chess than everyone in this chat, because the guy he beat, by the way, in no sense was, like, suffering from lack of stamina in the game. That guy's, like, a legendary player as well, and was the world champion for many years. Secondly, if Magnus Carlsen did any modelling, it is only because he is famous at chess. This motherfucker has a head where he either would be in some sort of a special ward, or he'd have to be a genius at chess. Look at him now. Google Magnus Carlsen right now. You would think if you told me he was 6 years old, I'd go, cool, might grow out of it. He's an adult man now, mate. So there's no way he's not Dolph Lundgren, put out way, because that's a better example actually. Because famously, Dolph Lundgren is like a legendary movie action star, but also has like 2 PhDs as well and like speaks like 7 languages. He's not one of those people. So I get the premise of what you mean. Like you've got a point there. If you play like a really long best of 5, like a Splice versus fucking Team Liquid best of 5. I could have believed at the end of that, some stamina aspects might be necessary. I would say personally, though, again, because so much of it, I think, will still be mental, I would actually say that's probably where having people work on your focus or meditation or something might actually be even more helpful if you actually were someone who could remain calm for longer, I think because one thing I'd say is this. A lot of what we're doing now is speculating, obviously, what will happen in the future, what will be all the kids. The big problem is this, mate. Sure, NA has less players, but NA had all of these things years ago. Like, remember, all of those TSM teams everyone laughs at that went to Worlds had motherfuckers like Weldon work with them. And they still went and had all the problems that looked like you would if you'd have asked which of these teams here had all the help with the sports psychology, you just said Cloud9, right? No. It was TSM that had all these resources way before anyone else. And they always were at the gym, they were always working again, all these things can add a little bit, but the big problem for me is
none of those Koreans
the sort of things.
None of those dominant Koreans were fucking healthy. I get just one critical point you're making there, for example, was that this affected his stamina. I'm sorry, I physically cannot ever be one of these shredded guys now because of a condition that I have called echolalia. That's never happening for me. Mate, I live off 4-hour sleep schedules fucking routinely. I know some very fucking fat cunts who also live off 4-hour sleep schedules routinely. It doesn't affect them whatsoever. I think the link that you're drawing, I don't think it's a straight one-to-one. I do think that over a gigantic sample size, we'll probably find some correlation. That will just be because generally speaking, the fat fucks don't take care of themselves in any way, shape or form, whereas the fit people obviously take care of themselves in every way, shape or form. So you're going to see this kind of thing happening more often for the fit people than the fat people. Obviously, again, I'm not a fucking scientist on this stuff, but when you're saying all this, I'm like, all right, I must be a fucking unicorn, and so must a lot of people that I know. Yeah. But it doesn't have as dramatic an effect as I think you're saying. For me, the big thing about why I would really push this sports psychology angle, I would push especially the physiotherapist angle, is prevention of lifetime disorders that will fuck you up, that gaming absolutely gives you and can start manifesting at a very fucking early age. So I'll always fucking push.
I'll give you an angle that's an interesting one. Here's an angle as to how, if I was an owner, I would use external resources like this. So one thing I would actually do is I would never let myself get into a situation where Jensen comes to me and says, I want to leave this team. Because at the end of the day, we're one of the top teams. We're competing for the same titles he wants to win. My question there isn't why does he want to leave? It's what about Cloud9 makes him think Cloud9 can't do the things he wants to do. Win Worlds, LCS, whatever it is, right? So in that scenario, I feel like that's where if you'd have had better communication with someone who was talking to the player, who could actually, throughout the time they're with him for the whole split, maybe if you're lucky, years, can actually say to you, well, actually, yeah, I kind of know him quite well. In his life, he wants to accomplish these things maybe he would never say to you. Maybe he has a secret fear of something that you're not accounting for on your team, or you need to impel him towards some other goal that he hasn't expressly. That's where I could see there being a very you could gain a little edge over your competitors who wouldn't be doing any of this stuff because they're only going to notice there's a problem in that scenario at the end. And the problem is when the player comes to you at the end and says, I want to leave the team, it's too late at that point in time. That's the sort of thing you needed to start like getting like warning signs of a few months out. You needed to have like a set, you have to actually have a chance to come back at the person. Because for me, when they come at the end, they've already made their mind up. Like that's ship sailed. So there's an area I could see having like some sort of a staff and people who know how to talk to individuals, and especially on a better level than a team owner. I could see that being very valuable because that's the biggest area, in my opinion, in esports that is lacking at the moment. I keep telling these owners, a lot of them are my friends. I tell them I don't understand why you let these people fuck you like this. Like you give a guy years and years of contract, the best salaries, you buy the players you want, and at the end, if he just says to you, I want to leave, you go, go on then, pet, go on, run along then. It's like, why the fuck have you done that? Like, could you imagine Formula One, someone just saying like, right, well, I literally got the car, the engine you want, the driver you want, but you want to leave after a year? Yeah, fair play, see you, mate, you can just go. Like, no, I have a 3-year contract with you, I'm paying you the best salary, get in the fucking car, you were here for 3 years. Like, that's being an adult, you know. Like, I don't know why in esports they keep letting themselves get cocked. It's unbelievable. Like, you should, like the worst one, unfortunately, is Cloud9. If you just saw how many people, the bad thing is as well, Veteran, they've given them all to Team Liquid as well in CS:GO and League of Legends. It's unbelievable.
I will not comment because I've heard things about Cloud9's contracts from people that I trust, so I will not say anything except that I'm glad that they've apparently let them out of them. The guy I was definitely thinking about when you were saying there was Noah Winston. The whole time I remembered when Noah made that gigantic speech about how they're just going to allow everyone on Immortals go. When the moment that they want to, with like no ifs, no buts, we're gonna let everyone go. Noah Winston made a straight up gigantic video about it. I just like the reactions from every owner that I ever talked to. There was like, what a fucking idiot! What is going on here? And didn't he then try to like call out everyone to like reveal their salaries without realizing what an absurdly thick idea it was to have everyone reveal their salaries, how ridiculously that would inflate the market, and also how much that would fuck up teams. Because like, imagine that you find out in contract, you're not allowed to talk about this with each other, by the way, but imagine that you find out that the fucking top laner on your team is earning like 4 times your salary and shit like this. Imagine having all of that out there. Like, holy fuck, the entire game changes. But the whole time you're thinking about that, I just thought about that. This has nothing to do with anything we were talking about before, but still. Anyway, I had to bring that up.
A thing like about what with the injuries, what you're telling about, why like what's the word? Shit. I forgot the word. The guy that works with you so you don't get injuries. I have
physiotherapist.
Yeah, thank you. Because like in this season, especially like wrist injuries are getting more and more prominent. Like we have Mickey X, and we had Licorice, and now like Jensen tweeted a week ago like that he has to work with some guy to fix his wrist because he's really much pain with his wrist and may miss playoffs because of that. And I think if they don't tackle this, like Veteran says, in a more aggressive and more professional way that they are doing now, these problems are gonna get more and more and more and more until you get to a point where you have to basically maybe sub out 2 players per split because they have like posture problems, they got problems with their wrist, like with whatever.
And I can give you a good example on this one, which is that like the most famous StarCraft player of all time, Flash, literally, because in StarCraft Brood War they had a mental rule in Korea where you're not allowed to remap the hotkeys. Everyone just has to play with the default hotkeys. So Flash, for example, has very small hands. So he had to learn to literally do this with his hand on his small finger and his thumb and be able to press all the numbers keys while pressing Control, Shift and Alt, right? So as a result, you can imagine what this guy's fucking hands would look like after a day of playing 14 hours. Well, the thing is, right, the reason why that is so egregious is because much like League of Legends, not as bad as League of Legends, obviously, StarCraft is not a game that requires like FPS levels of sensitivity. Like, as long as you have your sensitivity roughly in the area of what you're used to, you can do all the things in one of those games that you'll get used to it pretty quickly. So to me, League of Legends especially, there is no excuse for doing what Veteran was doing and using your wrist to aim. Like, do not do it. Go to a low sensitivity, have a big mouse pad, learn to use your whole arm. First of all, it's actually more consistent anyway. The real reason why people who don't know don't do it though is because the dark secret, unfortunately, of esports careers is That's actually the reason why, even back in the day, if you go watch an old school game of like Counter-Strike, Quake, sometimes they'll still hit an impressive shot. Well, remember, the mouse technology was terrible back then. It was a ball mouse, it was a tiny mouse pad, like even the hertz of the mouse would have been something ridiculous, like 75 or something terrible. But the reason why they could still do it is because to aim with your wrist is infinitely superior to your arm. You have to train your arm to do those movements. Your wrist, it already can hold a pen and a brush and anything you need. That's why you can do all those fine movements. The problem is you're not supposed to use that fucking muscle like a billion times within a few minutes. So it will make you way more accurate. It's just that it will wreck you. Like, you can't last long term if you do that. Like, the players in Quake who did that were the ones who burned out the fastest. So by default in League, you should never be doing that anyway. Like, I would suggest every single person out there. Doesn't matter if now you think you gain an edge. You're not getting enough of an edge. League isn't enough of a game where that's going to matter. Like, the fractions are like this. In Counter-Strike, it's a pixel, remember. If you're a pixel off the guy's head, you miss. So, like, I already think in League, a lot of people... It's sad that it's even taken until 2019 for people to fix that. A team should have been on that years ago. These are areas, by the way, but again, where this is the whole reason, by the way, for all the idiots out there, why Fnatic wanted me to be their coach and was literally like giving me more and more ridiculous offers to try and get me to do it. Because I didn't know anything about League of Legends, but I'm way ahead on all this other shit because how many years I've been looking around going, why doesn't someone do this?
Yeah, like, my mind is still kind of blown from what you said about you weren't allowed to fucking remap your keys in StarCraft. That would have completely fucked me as well.
Oh, it's mental, mate.
That would have completely fucked me. Like, I actually had to play on, like, grid on StarCraft. But anyway, like, on the second thing that you were saying, the whole big issue is cost, right? And the second big issue is that no one really in esports, because I'd been with orgs that did try that weren't Shulker, honestly knew the people who weren't just good at this, but wouldn't just come in and accuse you of child abuse for putting people into a situation where they play games on screens for 12 hours a day. Like, legitimately, I've had instances where I've taken players to doctors, and doctors have legit just started accusing us of this because they don't understand why this...
I mean, they are in Germany, so I can believe it.
Yeah, like, so you have to not just get, like, really talented ones, but also ones that kind of understand the culture behind it, and that's just, like, a lot of money. You'll have to go through like a lot of physios and shit like this, you know? So that's like a twofold thing, but the football teams didn't have that problem. So if Riot hadn't like kind of blown their load a bit and only being able to get one football team, and I think that would have been like an immediate change, that would have required an immediate response. There would have essentially been like an arms race in these kinds of physios, but they do exist, they are out there, and any org can probably contact Shulker and get the companies that they use, and they would recommend some probably, because this is something that like can be a bipartisan thing. No one's going to try to claim like a fucking edge off of allowing Mickey X to like permanently fuck his wrists or something, you know?
A question on that, Veteran, like, because if you want to like remove posture problems or problems like how you're handling the mouse and what you're doing with your body, you basically have to have a guy standing behind the players at least once to see how they're sitting, how they're posturing, and like check up on that and on a regular basis. So how did that work at Schalke? Was there like a guy for the first week like standing behind every player, like looking how he's moving, how he's sitting, how he's posturing, or yeah?
It was more dealing with symptoms as they were coming, though the guy would like watch how we were playing. So basically the guy would come in like once a week, and there would be a day where like every hour like a different one of us would go for like our session with him. And he would sometimes like watch how we were playing and stuff, but he was essentially tackling the symptoms. Like one of us had like a bad back, he would tell us definitely, like he would tell him definitely how to sit, but he would also give him specific back exercises to deal with offset the permanent issues that he was giving himself, right? So he's basically trying to counteract the harm that he was doing to himself by sitting in a chair and playing video games for 12 hours a day, you know? And he was giving like different exercises to different people depending on the specific issues that they had and that they were having. And he was very good at identifying them himself.
By the way, you mentioned it earlier, but the most slept on one, because everyone knows the wrist for obvious reasons, is the first place you could have the big problem that causes you to stop playing. But I actually think the biggest under addressed issue is people's fucking necks while they play the game.
Yeah.
The amount of times I see someone's neck bent forwards I know because I used to do it as well, because, you know, it's like an instinctive way to look a bit closer to the screen, like focusing, etc. But the problem is that angle, that's fucking terrible to be playing as long as we play.
We both played like this.
We had to
you had to
cancel
on my
stream.
check.
we had to cancel scrims once because one of our players just physically couldn't turn his neck like all the way to the left or to the right that day without it physically hurting. I was like, okay, holy shit. Like, we have to get this guy to a physio. Like,
that's weird because TSM junglers can turn their head 360 degrees once they've been for 6 months, but then bizarrely they shout in Bjergsen's voice, "The sow is mine, leave the jungler alone." See what I did there? There we go. Whatever. They're losing right now, so it's all fair game.
But I think like rather than counteracting, you more have like to work to counteract those things before they come up. Like,
yes, prevention is obviously way better than dealing afterwards.
You have to establish a routine when you come in as a physio in a team. Like, okay, this is where we are, and this is where we could be, and this is where we shouldn't be. So, like, what Veteran explained, like, is that's like doing the third step before the first. Like, you're just reacting instead of proacting. Like
but these like exercises that he gives aren't like, oh, everything's already fucked, you have to do this to deal with it for the rest
of course not.
But it's more like,
like
your lifestyle is fucked. It's going to affect you in this very particular way because of your height, because of your build, because you're a fat cunt. These are like the ways in which we are going to offset the potential lifelong issues that you will have. Like, he's not necessarily just masking the symptoms, he's helping. Like, if I had him way back when I was younger, I would not be in the situation where because this is permanent. Like, I know this is permanent. This is just done. Like,
I know I have a similar issue with my right wrist.
Yeah,
so,
but I mean, well, I'll just straight up say, like, Upset will not have those issues, for example, which is very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Thank you for having me.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Just a super quick aside. I just can't let it go. Like, the most famous clip of Magnus Carlsen is him falling asleep at an event. So you YouTube it, Google it, whatever. It's got like 5 million views. Like, I just lost it when I saw this. Oh, another also super quick aside. Weldon Green, for anyone who doesn't know, is a complete fraud. And you say, hey, Richard, that's not a nice thing to say. At least have some, substantive proof. Go and look up the tweet he posted. I know I've showed it to Veteran before. Just after TSM get eliminated from Worlds in 2016 or whichever Worlds it was where he was there, and he basically posts a picture and a caption alluding to the fact that he may or may not kill himself. So,
all right,
that's your sports psychology.
Here's the
pretty public. That's why I mentioned the tweet, because somehow, as far as I know, I don't actually know if it's still up, but
it was an Instagram photo.
Yeah, it was an Instagram photo. Go look it up. It's fucking gold. Anyway, yeah, that guy's a fraud. Anyway, so my premise, speaking of frauds, this whole setup that like Astralis and XL have.
Origin, but it's a refresh.
Oh, sorry. Sure. Yeah, it's that. Yeah. It's a really good background to get on this, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know much about it, is they did a Astralis, fucking hell, Origin did a video from their sort of studio setup, whatever you want to call it, in Copenhagen, where it's basically like, if you look through the veil, kids pretending to be adults thing, where they're talking about how when you're in this work environment where people, have desks and computers and everything's set up like a traditional office, that this is like super healthy for the players and everything, whatever. They're based in Copenhagen. XL are based in the UK. And it was my original understanding that both these organizations were eventually going to move in Berlin. I don't know whether or not either of them have plans for that. My guess is that neither do, just because of how they set up. And I mean, XL literally did a deal with Twickenham where they put together like this pretty, high budget facility or whatever. They seem pretty entrenched in that idea now. I don't believe that they are going to change. I have no idea with Origin. I know in the past that they said they were going to, but so far as I know,
XL have been based in Berlin for at the very least the last month. That's what I can confirm right now. They abandoned that idea pretty fast.
This is a temporary thing, though, right? If it's what I'm thinking of.
Well, they're based in Berlin, and it is temporary insofar as they aren't making playoffs. So yeah, they are gone in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But as far as I know, Origin abandoned it after the first split as well. But I actually didn't follow up to confirm that they did. But I know that after spring, or really late in spring, I was already being told by people incredibly high up in Origin that they were abandoning that whole setup because, yeah, that setup is cancer. I also know that players from at least Excel basically universally fucking hated the setup.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see any reason why you would love perpetually traveling, and we know at least one team in the form of Gambit or Old Moscow 5 that was ruined in large part due to the kind of time constraints that this game.
They obviously did have very crazy travel, though, to be fair, in contrast to, an hour to Berlin. But the problem is that this is what people don't ever think about. If you don't travel on a regular basis, there's no such thing as an hour to Berlin. That's the hour flight, and then you need to get to the airport, and you need to go through your bag, and you need to... When you add it all together, it's like 3 hours. It's the reason why, now that I live in Amsterdam, if I have to go to Cologne, right, I'm sure the flight's probably 50 minutes, but I'd take the train that's 2.5 hours, because when you add it all up, I actually save time and have a way more chill trip. Like, it's way less stressful. But I can't really see practically anywhere you could live that involves flying that's better than just having a team house there. Like, you're just putting unnecessary stress on the shoulder of your players while the other guys walk to the studio.
So yeah, to put this in like full context for everyone, the flight from London to Berlin is just under 2 hours. Obviously, you have to go via either, if you're XL, either Heathrow or Gatwick, which are very good airports, but they're also incredibly busy airports. And because it's an international flight, you're going to need to be there at least like hour and a half beforehand.
Oh, of course.
Then they land in either Schoenfeld or TXL, which are the two worst airports I've ever been to in a first world country, like hands down. And that's not just like personal anecdotal hyperbole. It's also what Germans tell me when they, compare it to Frankfurt International or Cologne or wherever, and what basically anyone who does sort of these trips like around the sort of esports circuits tell me that those are up there with the absolute worst. I also think it's important to sort of differentiate between traveling from like a sort of new sort of having a new experience, or it can like almost be sort of exciting or cathartic. If you're doing like a CSGO event in a country you've never done before or whatever, you don't dread that so much as you would doing basically what is just essentially the world's worst commute into super familiar territory.
This is basically like living in fucking Birmingham and having to go to London every day for work.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
That'd get old pretty quick.
Yeah, and regardless of whether or not they've now, I don't believe that that's true of Origin, though I could be wrong. I do think they're still doing the Copenhagen thing, because the thing I saw super recently, they were practicing out of their offices in Copenhagen. Okay. But if what Veteran says is true of XL, which I definitely assume it is, then even that, being said, the damage would largely have been done by that point. And as Veteran alluded to as well, the XL players were just fuming's the wrong word, because exhausted is a better word.
Yeah.
Just absolutely mentally exhausted. And an important detail to note here as well is you're exerting yourself more than any other team, and you're actually getting the least practice of any team as well, which is something that hasn't been brought up that much. But they typically do one less scrim block than every other team, depending on what your like philosophy is on if teams over practice or not, or whatever. Maybe you think that's a good
By the way, what is and you might know this, Veteran, what is the general rule on like the time you have to arrive at the studio before your game? I'm guessing it's at least 2 hours, right? Maybe 3
It's 2 hours if it's the first game, but it's 1 hour if it's any other game, and they send a shuttle to your gaming house. So theoretically here,
there's some wiggle room,
send the shuttle to the hotel. Yeah. So they provide the shuttles for. Wait, actually, at one point they were threatening not to. Did that go through, Richard? Do you know, or are they still?
No. So I believe either one of two things happened. Either they still do it in exactly the same way, or the teams now officially have to do it, but all they really did was took over the account they had with the shuttle company, and it's essentially the same service, but now the teams are paying for it, because heaven forbid that Riot should continue to pay for such a small line item. But also I felt this like tied in quite well with what like the last guy was saying as well, and what you guys were saying about how you saw the reality of credit given to people like sports psychologists and stuff like that. And I I think even 3% might be generous. In my personal opinion, I think that someone who just has good personable skills is more likely to reach like adolescence than some guy who's propping himself up with degrees and, you know, trying to reach these gamers with no social skills. But that being said, like this idea of a 3% possible improvement or whatever, there's in the video that I referenced before about Origin in their facility talking about how they do the classic, by the way, where people who come in from outside of esports and say, we at Astralis are going to do things differently.
There we go.
We believe in nutrition. And blah,
We've
blah, blah,
arrived. We're going to figure this whole industry out, unlike you. They basically act like we're a bunch of fucking caveman primitives, and they've just landed with a toaster.
Yeah, they're here to liberate us, and we're so grateful for it. But yeah, it's not that they're trying to like figure it out. Apparently, in their heads, they have figured it out. You know, it's like one of them even references handball, which, you know, no disrespect to handball, but it's not like he came from the pinnacle.
No, mate. What's great is, sport. I believe the story is he used to be a pro in handball. So all the Danish guys goes, you know, he used to be a pro, he was international. I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck handball is, you dumb cunt. Except when you illegally touch the ball in football. Like, tell me a real sport I care about. Did he work with fucking Kobe Bryant? Was he in the NFL? I understand these things. You're telling me he's in handball. For all I know, Veteran's a fucking 7-time world champion in handball and gave it up. It was too boring. He came and played league. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's such a terrible reference, isn't it?
That's where the wrist issues came from.
Exactly.
Veteran. He was just too ashamed to allude. Yeah, but it was hilarious, actually. There's a line that the guy gives where he's like, initially, the players weren't too receptive to our handball coach coming in. And it's like, oh, really? Interesting. But yeah, they break down this whole thing about, oh, we get 1% here from the nutrition. And this is a direct quote. I'm not just, you know, trying to make it fit perfectly.
Let's see what the number is.
It's like, yeah, we get a percentage from the nutrition, from the yoga shit or whatever the fuck it is that they're doing, and we get a percentage from here, and, you know, in total that makes 3%. So we give them a 3% boost. It's like, yeah, but then you have to get on a fucking plane for like 4 hours total journey, and that 3% is now like -10 because you guys get off. They've missed out on an extra practice session. They now have to go into a different hotel every week, and then they're just unrested and presumably pretty pissed off.
I wouldn't even be surprised, mate, if like you always read those articles that say like actually being on planes is terrible for you, like your breathing's worse or some shit, you know, because of the quality of the air, etc. Like I could even see that just counteracting all the fucking physiotherapist shit they're doing if no one else is getting on a plane.
By virtue of being on a plane, straight up, because of the mechanisms of how they depressurize the plane itself, and just being at that altitude, like you get dehydrated very fucking fast being there, which is obviously a bad situation. This is why like plane food tastes so bad, because your taste buds get fucking dehydrated while they're up in the air. Like, yeah, you're right. There's like so many fucking physiological things that happen to you just by being on a plane. What was you alluded to like a reason why they would be in Berlin right now, Richard? Like, can you elaborate on that? Excel specifically. Yeah.
Why they would be in Berlin?
Yeah, you said you think you know why they would be in Berlin right now. There's like for something. It's like temporary.
Oh no, no. I just thought that so from what people were telling me in the organization, it was like they felt pressured to do something, but it didn't sound like it was with any kind of permanency. And considering the time frame, I didn't see how it realistically could be, I don't actually know.
So I've been following up on it, and it seems like the reason why the organization would have to end up being based in Berlin anyway, or at least the team itself, is because the two Koreans on their team can't necessarily get work visas for two countries. They could only go for the German work visa, and as a result, they have to be based in Germany. They can't actually export their Koreans to the UK. Is the reason why they are in Berlin.
Another great reason to import mediocre Koreans. There you go.
So I also tried to follow up on the Origin thing, and whereas like I haven't gotten anyone from Origin for this, someone did point out to me that they actually did their Euphoria episode remotely, so maybe they didn't end up doing it. And
yes, you're right. I was like called on someone else, right? And they had to call in on as opposed to the rest coming into the actual studio.
Yeah. Like, so maybe they didn't end up doing it, which would be quite strange because someone very high up in Origin told me that they were going to do that. So
so their plan, I know that their long-term plan was always to do it, but because of the time difference between being potentially accepted in and making like preparations and already having some kind of thing in place in Copenhagen, they just thought that this was like, I don't know, that was the best logistical short-term solution. By the way, another important point which ties into this, which they were spouting shit about in the Astralis video, is this idea that they've put them on the right sleeping schedule, that they're so out of sync and they're all messed up, and we're breaking the mold, and gamers need to get up at 8 a.m. not this and blah blah blah. This is actually like a bigger issue than it might initially seem on the surface, because obviously LCS starts at whatever it is, six local time on a Friday, I think it is. And
you're about to hit, mate, one of my biggest pet peeves in esports, which is that we all live at home and we stay up till 4 a.m. and then you go to a LAN tournament and the first game's scheduled for 9:30 a.m. set local time, which is absolutely absurd. Like, think about the way they play other sports. Like, they play like NFL games in the evening. You play a football game, maybe on Saturday you play at midday, but otherwise you play at 3 p.m., whatever. Like, everyone knows the same clock. In fact, you want it to be as stable as possible, don't you?
Yeah, so the thing is, this isn't even, there's not, for these guys talking about, we're bringing all the best things about traditional sports to esports, whatever. This isn't actually true in traditional sports at all. Like, players' body clocks are actually adjusted to the perfect time, funnily enough, of when they're going to be playing.
I know a lot of NBA players, actually, if their game starts at I'm going to say 6 p.m. at night, they have like a nap at 4 p.m. or something, or 3 p.m., before the game, and they have it all, they have it all timed out. There's no wiggle room on it. Like, they know exactly what they're going to do. So, and by the way, I can already tell you what's funny is, because of the timeline of this, that all those interviews basically came out from Astralis when they were by far the best team to ever play CSGO. I can actually tell you it's a real story. People know this by now, that my friend who used to be an analyst in CSGO, Janko, the Serbian guy, who became the coach of MIBR, the Brazilian team, because they're a massive org, Immortals, all the money they've got, he basically said, I want to implement some of these things. And so he came to the Brazilian players and said, right, you're all going to get up at this time in the morning. And basically, they just told him where to sling his fucking hook.
Yeah. I mean,
for obvious reasons, they were like, why the fuck do we have to do that? This is also, I'll even add in as a third detail, in light of all the Tfue stuff and what it's emerging that esports orgs never told their employees is the difference between an employee and a freelancer. I would actually even go ahead and guess it's probably not legal in most regions to actually tell someone who's a freelance contractor when they have to wake up in the morning and what time they have to go to sleep. That's probably not considered legal, I would guess.
So, I have no idea in terms of legality and so like this, but this is a point I should have brought up for the last topic as well, because when he was talking about nutrition, stuff like this, what I wanted to say to him was that players actually do, and Richard knows this, because he actually lived with the last team that we had. By and large, the players that I've worked with, at least, and this seems to be a very universal thing with players that I talk to, do actually want to live healthier lifestyles voluntarily without us even having to do anything. If anything, the chef that we have was gating them from it because he kept wanting to add nice sauces, and these guys literally just wanted chicken and rice, They wanted healthy diets like that. Sleep schedules is another thing that, shockingly enough, most players actually do want to fix by their own accord. We obviously had one really big exception in HGK, couple of big exceptions in HGK if you count the other roster as well, that Richard is immediately thinking of. But outside of those very guys that people in Twitch chat can probably immediately think, everyone was actually trying to wake up very early, have a very good sleep schedule, not try to stay in bed until 4 a.m. until 6 a.m. and actually trying to have a more of a human lifestyle. They were volunteering to go to the gym. They were volunteering to have good sleep schedules. They were volunteering and even fighting our own fucking chef to try to have good diets. So I think that also, I have to encourage this, and I think that Astralis won't necessarily have to force, especially players on Origin, to do this. I think that a lot of players on the Origin have been trying to do this shit anyway.
I think you may have slightly missed the point, actually, because even though obviously what you're saying is people can choose to do, ultimately they're their own masters.
They are.
Right? So they can choose to do whatever. And I find it really obnoxious if a guy is always performing and he's not missing meetings and he's not missing scrims or whatever. I find it obnoxious that someone try and sort of...
it's who the fuck's my boss telling me when I have to go to bed?
Pulling you out by your ankles. I find
a lot of coaches definitely would like to put that as their schedule, but the way that you do that as a coach is that you simply set scrim times earlier, and you can only set scrim times early if the other coach wants to set them for that time as well. Generally, all the coaches have a meeting on Discord or Skype at the start of the split where they set scrim times, but we generally have them at like 1 p.m. And then it ends up always being bartered down to 3 p.m. eventually. But generally it starts like that. I know in America, though, I've heard that they legitimately do have like 9 a.m. scrims and shit like this.
Yeah, sure. But this is, and which is ridiculous, by the way. And like, this is like the point I was getting to. And by the way, you're right, Thorin, like this video is laced with like montage clips from Astralis, like in the golden era, as some kind of justification for why they're the world's best.
I'll even tell you, by the way, like the sad thing about the Astralis example is, to me, it actually discredits a lot of these points they're trying to set up about the support stuff.
Absolutely.
Because if you know who the Astralis players are in CSGO, they are already people I could have told you, like most of them already are in shape. Like people like Device just run and bike all the time. Most of them already have like gone over those issues, and they're easily the most receptive, like personality wise, to trying some of these things out. So like it'd be different. I'd be more impressed if someone took a team with some of the aforementioned fat cunts and cheater looking motherfuckers and turned them into some like amazing, you know, well conditioned military unit who all suddenly had a greater lifestyle. Like that'd make more sense to me. Like the Astralis one, I feel like they almost like that was a team that was going to meet you halfway. Like I said, the Brazilian team wasn't having any of that shit, mate. Like they literally, basically in almost different words, just said something along the lines of like, I'm not going to do this as well. Like I'll do all the rest. I'll play the game. I'll try to be the best. I'm not going to fucking like have no life as well.
Yeah, I mean it's a really weird bus stop that we get off at when we decide, well, we're just going to tell you how to live your life. Like, just because there could be circumstances under which having a gaming house might make logistical sense doesn't suddenly mean that you get to barge in front of the guy at the fridge and be like, sure, you're not eating that, what are you doing? Like, that would never be appropriate under any other circumstances. My point on this Astralis thing, and why it's just, to me, just objectively stupid, is they have all the information and all the context of how LEC works, and they know that the first programmed game starts at 6 p.m. They know that the final one can end potentially around midnight. That's
without the remakes and all the problems you can have, obviously.
Exactly.
So if you woke up at 8 a.m., you're shit out of luck for sure.
Yeah, and on scrim days, as Veteran said, obviously it could have changed, but it'd been the same for years, more or less. Either you book a set that starts at 1, or you have a set that starts at 3, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then why the fuck is, like, great, you get up at 8, oh cool, Cold wants to go to the gym, he can go to the gym. Guess what, he can also get up at 11 and go to the gym and still make scrims. Like, you just put these guys on a really messed up body clock where you actually kind of put to light some of the false stigmas that existed about gaming and how late people stay up or whatever. Like, that staying up late is only a relevant piece of information if the context does not support that decision. When you tell the person, by the way, the peak hours that this guy has to be at his best is at 11 p.m. because that's when his scheduled game starts, suddenly going to bed at 3 in the morning isn't really stupid, is it? So they're just sort of taking all the worst things about these lies that still exist, flipping them on their heads, and then actually affecting performance. Like, I know that, again, we're talking about these sort of minor things of like what a sports psychologist can bring, or a physiotherapist, whatever. Something like lack of sleep, I think that has a very tangible effect.
Course,
and when I say tangible, I mean we're talking about closer to 10% as detrimental than,
totally
than 3.
believe that.
So it's just a really funny video that you should watch, because they're talking about how they get all these minute advantages. They're the smartest people in the room. So if you just do X, Y, and Z from this ex-handball coach, what he's telling you to do, shoving apples in your mouth. I've seen that happen, by the way. So it's Veteran. It was great fun.
Yes.
Then, that's how you bring a willing...
Well, that's why my favourite is the Immortals org, because remember, they were one of the first ones to get... They had that Robert Yip guy, right, who's like a fucking... I mean, apparently he's not, like, connected with Weldon. I think actually that was a mistake that even let people think he was. Apparently he is some, like, legit guy himself. But he was the guy who just kept going on and on, no joke, about how, you know, he'd gotten, like, they were going to have a healthy meal and one of them was eating a fucking banana before the game. And obviously his team famously was, like, the best regular season team ever, and then just, like, literally fucking kamikazed every playoff, like, Like, of all the times, mate, I'd wait till after, like, do it like Astralis did. Wait till you succeed, then brag about that stuff. Don't tell me about it before you do a wacky races and fucking hang a fender bender on the last corner, you daft cunt. Like, you're telling me you've got all the sports psychologists. What were they doing? What was Hooney doing?
I mean, my biggest pet peeve in esports, like full stop, my biggest pet peeve is either PR statements or video interviews or whatever pieces of content that teams put out, which start with the words "we at Team X," and then it's preceded by a bunch of bullshit that they've taken from like the mainstream, which apparently they do differently. We at Immortals is obviously like the meme, right? Noah Winston sitting in front of a camera going, "We at Immortals actually look after our players and don't poison them in their sleep." Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no shit, brilliant, well done, mate. And then list off all these amazing things that they do for their players. But then again, yeah, it's like, do this after you've had the success and then directly link it back to the success that you've literally just had. Not, oh, we've had success in Counter-Strike, now we're getting like maybe some of the same people, I guess. Like, that's not even made clear at all. Like, I don't know if this handball coach was like running around to Device and Dupree and being like, "Hey bro, I played handball, like you should do this." I don't know if that even happened. So I don't even know if these are the same guys. All they're doing is overlaying a montage and saying, "Look how cool and amazing Astralis is. We're going to be this cool and successful in League of Legends." And when your last split under the brand Origin, obviously not directly related to them as owners, was, you know, setting the record for the world's worst ever split. Like, you just set yourself up to just become a massive meme if anything goes haywire. So I just find it incredibly obnoxious, and this is getting like really petty, and I understand this is like more of a personal issue that maybe I have rather than it being an issue in of itself. But just look at how these people talk. Like, just watch the video and look at how they present themselves. Like, I don't, you know, pretend to be some sort of master of like psychology or being able to read people unbelievably well or whatever, but I just dislike them. Like, there's just,
they all look slimy as fuck, don't they? Yeah,
exactly. So smarmy and just self-important, and the idea that they basically have this pedestal that they have earned, it's not been afforded to them, rather than it actually being off the back of a bunch of 20-something-year-old Danish Counter-Strike players who just giga carry your brand, and now you can basically believe you can say whatever you want, and it has this amazing amount of grandeur and respect that everyone should treat you with. Like, I just find it so obnoxious. Noah Winston, unfortunately, I feel that was like more of a natural disposition of his incredibly punchable face and mannerisms. Like, I don't feel that was like an esports specific thing.
No, that's just who he is as a person.
Yeah, he was just born like that. So, you know, that's whatever. I'll forgive him that, you know. But watch this video of these Astralis people. It's sick.
The only problem is, though, I will say, this is like a classic example of where, I mean, mate, just go and look in comment sections whenever me and Richard like expose literal, like, you know, business dodginess that they're doing. It doesn't matter. Comment sections are awash with people who are loving it. They're swallowing it all, hook, line, and sinker. Like, what you realise is that what they're doing actually is a successful strategy. Because to all the people who only know business waffle, sounds like you know what you're talking about. To all the idiots that only know esports, they hear some business waffle and go, "Certainly seems like he knows what he's talking about. Heard a lot about revenue." And, you know, like, they don't, you know, it works for most people, sadly. It's only like the few people who can see through the fucking matrix, as it were. And then all we're doing is just like, we're just like crazy people on a street corner going, he's mentally ill, he's trying to take over the world. And then they're like, all right, calm down, get the Thorazine in. Then just fucking put you on a stretcher somewhere, don't they? I will say, by the way, one aspect, though, that I don't like about this is, notice this is all coming out of American corporate culture as well. Like, I don't know if you know this, Veteran. I don't know how much you know about American life. But do you know that, like, it's not just because someone who has to do an important job, like drive a bus or something. You know how many jobs in America drug test their people with piss tests?
Drug test?
Like, I'm talking about to do just like to answer a phone at like the Verizon wireless shop, or to be a guy in a random office job. They literally piss test you, so you can't be like smoking weed over the weekend or something. Ironically, you could do coke on Friday night and turn up on Monday morning. You'd be okay, but you can't do any of the like fun things that people might want to do. Basically, like, that's the level that like American companies think they can just like wade into your life and put those like burdens upon you. So I don't want to see shit like that coming in in
that you should have laws
esports.
against.
Oh, it's depressing as fuck.
Privacy.
Well, the joke is, like,
if you don't
a
have
guy-
laws against that, then what's going to happen is that some guy has a company that does drug tests. He offers it to you, and then you go like, "We're so safe. Our employees are so safe that we even drug test them. So our service is always good." Now everyone else has to buy that fucking guy's drug tests and shit.
Yeah.
Like these guys who are selling drug tests earn so much money, and then they'll never end up making a law against it. But that just seems like an obvious violation of rights.
we
to me.
at
Oh, it should be, of course.
We at
Holy
Immortals,
shit.
are drug free, and we demand that
Yes.
everyone make their drug tests public. Like this is the way to
Mm.
go for sure.
That kind of thing. Just Jesus.
Except you just know the fucking management level people ain't taking that drug test, baby. Then again, like I said, their drug, more like the Friday night type. I think they'd be all right. Take some. Then again, tell you what's a fucking nightmare. This will make me wake up in a fucking cold sweat tonight. Imagine some of the cunt businessmen in esports on cocaine. Fucking hell. They already can't stop talking absolute shite the whole time anyway. Fucking hell. You'd gnaw your own ears off. Could you even imagine it?
By the way, I realised that I never actually really came to a conclusion on my initial premise, which is that if it needs...
Yeah, how's it reckoning, basically?
Yeah, so I think that it's this idea of in the game, I think that things like if something goes wrong would be like the most obvious example. I just think that a tired mind or someone who isn't surrounded or hasn't approached the game with all their sort of creature comforts is just much more likely to be on edge. I can give I'm not whatever, fuck it. Someone like Jankos, who is incredibly emotional, both in a good way and potentially in a very bad way, depending on basically what's happened to him that day, as far as I can tell. Like, G2 is the perfect situation for Jankos, because when you're winning and when things are generally trending upwards, Jankos is the absolute best person to have around in the team. He's super uppity. He's a really good teammate. Has, I would probably say, the best comms in League I've ever heard, in my experience, when he's in a good frame of mind. And he's just the absolute, and obviously he's a fucking great jungler, so he's just the absolute perfect person to have around. If he was in a really sort of tenuous, sort of up and down situation, as he has actually been on G2 in the past when things weren't going quite so well, it can go completely the other way. I can only imagine Jankos's face if I sit him down in a room and tell him he's going to be flying 2 times a week and that this is how things are going to be. And, you know, he might take it well in the meeting or whatever, or be a team player, like he's in a good frame of mind. You know, all of these players, by the way, and Veteran probably had a similar experience with at least a couple of them. During the off season, when people were coming to me with advice about, like, if I thought this team was good, if I thought this contract was good or whatever, I always brought up the travel thing when XL and Origin were discussed. Yeah. I was like, this is a really big deal, dude. They weren't even thinking about it. It was always a yeah, but, and then they'd immediately want to segue into like a different part of the contract. And like, yeah, I can imagine it would be annoying, but at that point in the season, you're an 18 to 24-year-old guy, whatever. You're full of optimism about how great things might go around, you know, everything else. And this doesn't really become real for you. Even the people who gave it some level of credence, that I didn't feel like they were really taking it seriously. I straight up said to one of the guys who was in contention, let's say, to join XL, I said to him, like, you really need to think about this. Like this, if things start going badly.
The problem is, though, I know what you mean, but I also can actually empathise with the players a lot, because even as someone in like CS, I think I might have done something meant like 60 events in the last 4 years or something. But even with all that travel, when I'm not at the event, so like right now, I'm at home, I've slept in my own bed, I've had my own food, I've had my own run of the whole day, could do anything I wanted, could prep, so I had exactly the right time to do this show. Right now, in this frame of mind, I guarantee I would make the same mistake I've made at every event. I would think to myself, like, on the day I arrive, I can do more things than I can do. I can record a video when I arrive. Ridiculous things like this, that if I actually do any amount of travel, even sometimes short flights, you get there and you go, fucking hell, because of things like the air quality, it's like, fucking hell, I'm a lot more tired than I thought it would be. Oh, I haven't got exactly the right food, so maybe this meal's maybe a bit sleepy, maybe I haven't had enough to eat, like... There's a million factors that, unfortunately, it's so hard to put your mind in that, like what you're going to be like in that situation. And I'll also throw in as well that what you're saying is one of the other reasons why it didn't matter back in the day if a player came to you with his contract. The amount of players, because they're not men, they're just boys. The amount of them who can find any way mentally to get past any clause in the contract as long as that number's higher.
Yeah.
I've even known teams where the owners tried to be compassionate and said to the player, take less. Look, I'll knock this much off. You're someone who doesn't seem like you'll be able to meet your streaming obligations, for example. So I'll tell you what, I'll do your deal. Even though streaming's actually where I make my money, I'll cut your streaming obligations in half and we just take 1,000 off the salary. And this might be, by the way, when the salary might itself be like 8K. So if that guy really is going to get 20 hours streaming off and he's a lazy guy, that's a brilliant deal. Take the 1,000. Every time, not only would they take the original deal, dude, some of them argued it up. Some of them were like, no, I'll do even more. Like, I'll do like a content and stuff. Can I get $500 more? It's like, do you even know the concept of how much your time is worth? Like, these deals are garbage. Like, that's the deal the org would suggest. So the amount of players who you just, like, you can do your best, but you're never going to get through to them, are you? Like,
I mean, even like those NIP guys, like, I know they rejected some of the clauses or whatever, but when they were put in that kind of like high stakes, what was perceived to be a high stakes situation of you have to re-sign with us or else, like the investor things will go.
Oh, mate.
Those guys have been in the scene for fucking years.
Absolutely. Yes, mate. The best thing is, this is the funniest thing about the NIP thing that no one else knows, because you have to be me to know the context. 2 details that are hilarious about the NIP scenario. One is the person who restarted NIP was an old school NIP player, Heaton. When Heaton left SK Gaming at the end of 2004, he talked mad shit in an interview about how the SK Gaming organisation owed him money. Now, I actually investigated that, and as far as I can tell, he's a liar. And so, if you're watching this video, I dare you, go public with it. Do some sort of lawsuit about it. I don't think you've got a fucking leg to stand on. That's my piece. But what I'll say is this. The idea your org, years later, with you attached as a brand ambassador, would do exactly the same and worse is fucking outrageous. After you, when you knew nothing about business, dared to call out those people. And then the second angle, similarly, is people like, remember, right, if you want to talk about orgs in esports history, I'll give everyone a fucking spoiler. Any of them that survived from the old school have done some dodgy shit, because everyone got in hard times when you didn't have cash flow, so you weren't paying people on time. Everyone had scenarios where a sponsor dropped out and you didn't get the money you were, every org's had it at some point, right? The idea that Get Right and Forest, who were in Fnatic and then SK Gaming and now NIP, are still signing contracts with these people. These motherfuckers will take anything. They probably get put in a fucking gimp mask in the basement at night. Like, what the fuck is wrong with these guys? So you're right. The biggest problem is this, Rich, you alluded to it, is these players don't even know the concept of the sunken cost fallacy. In their mind, they really get cocked like this veteran, right? I know you haven't paid me in 2 months, but if I leave, you probably won't pay me for next month, will you? It's like, why would that even be the way of thinking? Like, I tell people, when someone fucks with me in business, the first time you fuck with me, I'm out. Even if that means I lose my initial stake, I don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna gamble 3 months loss when I've only got 1 month's loss at the moment. I'm doing the opposite. Players will never think that way, unfortunately. They'll always do the re-sign. They'll always sign with the same person because they'll use the fucked up devil is better than the one you don't logic. Like all the most basic fallacies, these players will absolutely fall into every time.
That's such a successful
depressing, isn't it?
That still gets used today. And by the way, I'm going to say this right now because I'm actually really irritated that the players haven't gone public with it yet. And it's not mine to say from like a personal perspective, so I'm not going to make it personal at all. It's actually a very broad thing, so I think I can say it broadly, safely, without hurting anyone. But the org Besiktas, who are active in a bunch of esports, they are basically what happened was something similar to NIP. Like, there was an investor changeover and the new investor just wasn't paying or like there was just no money for some reason. And they were telling everyone from a myriad of different teams within their organization, like, don't worry, we'll pay you in like 2 weeks. Then 2 weeks became 2 months and et cetera, et cetera. And every fucking player I spoke to was like, yeah, I'm going to go public. But when I went to them and said that I was going to go public, they told me they'd pay me like tomorrow. So I'm just going to wait until tomorrow and see. And I'm like, do you think there's a law which means that if you go public, they don't have to pay you or what? Like, what do you believe you're losing at this point? Okay, they don't pay you initially. There's been some kind of mix up. Absolutely try and be understanding, or at least understand what the situation is and actually maybe who is to blame or whatever. But the first time after that they make you a promise or set you a deadline and say by X date this will happen, this will be rectified, if that is not met completely and in 100% a good roundabout way, do whatever you have to do. go fucking public, go to a governing body, get a lawyer, whatever it is, and go after them. And this is like the best example or recent example I can think of, because there are so many fucking players.
The worst one as well, mate, is this. I at least vaguely understand one of the reasons NiP didn't do it, which is a lot of the problems were in the early days of CSGO when there weren't many good orgs and there wasn't much money in at the time. Believe it or not, they did have one of the better deals. And then secondly, in our game, I'm not exaggerating, if you wrote Valve that email, they're probably not going to do anything about it. Like, they're just going to think it's a different country, different company, it's nothing to do with me, I don't even run this league. Sorry, have at it, do what you want. The difference is, here's what you should do. Anyone out there who's in this scenario now, who's a pro player, semi-pro, here's what you have to do right now. I can't promise you'll get the money, but what you need to do is repeatedly contact everyone up the chain at Riot Games, and then if they don't do anything, that's a story for me and Richard where we will tear their arseholes open. Because if it can be proven that they knew, think about what they did to my friend Monte Cristo when they claim he created an unsafe environment. The second these motherfuckers are ever proven to have known that something like this is going on within an org, I'll destroy them personally.
I have 5 things to say now. Like, you keep bringing up more and more stuff. Okay, all right. I have 5 things. Okay, number 1, the first one was on the point of the guys within Excel. I did hear similar things of like, yeah, but for me it was more like they were saying, yeah, this will actually be insanely cancer, and then the but was, I don't have any other offers. So that was the kind of deal that
that
would make sense.
Yeah, that was true of some. Yeah, sure.
So the second thing is that when it comes to players eluding themselves over contracts, the way that these guys think power dynamics work is fucking ridiculous. And maybe I can actually bring this in with the fucking 4th thing I was going to say, because you also brought up the idea that these guys like had an issue of like going public, or they had an issue of like leaving the org or whatever. It's like, yeah, you have to be willing to walk away from the table, or these guys have all the power. If they think you'll stay, they have no reason to incentivize you not to stay, or incentivize you to stay if you are staying. So you always have to be willing to leave. You always have to treat every negotiation as if you are willing to leave, and you do.
Which means also you have to literally prove to them, I'm willing to take a loss even. Like, I might lose everything I got, so I might even lose the money you owe me. But as a result, if you know someone's serious enough to do that, you ain't going to be fucking with them on anything else.
You were talking about like CSGO guys getting in with like some weird fucking shit, and it's like, okay, and getting some horrible terms on their contracts, but rationalizing it. Like, the one I kept remembering was that there was this one player who legitimately was like, guys, I have 900 AQ'd my contract, okay? So yeah, the money is not that good right now, but I've made it so that every year they have to renegotiate my pay. I was like, all right, okay, but your contract for 2 years? Okay, this is me in 1 year's time, all right? Come negotiate, all right? How much do you want? Okay, you want a grand raise? Okay, no. Done. I've met my contractual obligation. What are you going to do then? And then the light bulb like clicked in his fucking head. But he hadn't even gone through that thought process by that point, because he thought the money was good now and he could get more money later because the org itself was loaded and we all knew it was loaded. But he hadn't even thought that far. Like, yes, some of these guys are insanely incompetent and it pisses me off. The third thing is that you talked about how there were orgs that have done some completely shady shit to get to where they are now. Like any org that survived from the old days, right? I know there was one time in 2016 where 3 really big orgs, 2 of which survive right now, basically owed like 4 million in tax each in the EU LCS. So yeah, I absolutely can confirm that. And then the last thing...
That's coming, though.
I think, really? That's still fucking coming?
Oh, by the way, do you want to know something mad depressing, Veteran? We're just lucky that esports is small, because I could tell you some legends who, if you go see their esports earning page, have made hundreds of thousands of dollars and haven't claimed any of that shit as tax. So the day anyone wants to do that move, that, by the way, if you don't know anything about tax in most normal countries, they can dig like 5 years, 10 years in your ass in certain countries. So you don't want to be the guy where they go, excuse me, sir, can I see your tax records from 2009? It's like, that'd be the end for some of these motherfuckers, because it goes without saying they don't have the earning potential now. Like, they're in deep shit if that ever happens.
The 4th thing, I have done this many times. If you are in a regional league or in an LEC team, though this doesn't happen in LEC anymore, but if you are in a regional league and you need to know who to get in touch with to get paid, contact me. I know exactly who to get in touch with in every league. I can absolutely get that for you for free. Don't worry, there is absolutely a solution. We will circumvent the org. The orgs are not these fucking all-powerful beings, and you will not fuck up your chance to getting paid. paid by contacting me for this. Like, I guarantee you there.
This video was kindly supported by Patrick Ribeiro, Penguin Off 9, Dean Tanglis, Andreas Snazore Westerlund, Fat Guy got 24 ADR in an online qualifier, Lee Chaolan, Blunt Smoking Anus Destroyer, JDubs, Chi Mao, Tobias Bernasconi, NateDOhDoubleG, Alexander Rao, Kolja G, and as always, special thanks goes out to Jerky's Minion. Now, do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for some of my content? Obviously, I have quite a varied output. Do you want to ask me a question for my monthly video AMA? Maybe you want teasers, see who the guests are on my next shows. Do you want to take part in a donator discussion with me about esports? Well, if so, put your money where your mouth is. Join the Scrilluminati today. In the description box below, there's a Patreon link.